Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Wow. Wow. Biden just keeps coming with the bullshit, right? So you'll excuse me for 1 second. I just want to post that we're live. I see many of you are here. We've got 278 people watching. Only 132 likes, so make sure you hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. Airstrike it, right? You could imitate Joe Biden and just airstrike it. I really this sucks. This really sucks. You know, I was watching Lawrence of Arabia just now, right? And I made the mistake of pulling out my phone and looking on Twitter. And, you know, in Lawrence of Arabia, there's this passage where you have Alec Guinness who's asking Peter O'Toole, who plays Lawrence of Arabia, T. Lawrence. He asks him, have you ever been to Damascus? It's quite beautiful, yes. And you know, they talk about how beautiful Syria is. And it's you're watching that. And then I go on Twitter and see Joe Biden is bombing Syria. Just fuck you. All right, let's get down to it. Let's break this down. I hate I have so much anger in me right now. I don't know how the fuck to get it out. So this weasel over here. Okay, let's pull up the browser because you can't see what I can see. Here we go. Okay. So Joe Biden has decided to bomb Syria. Right? He's barely been president 1 month, and he goes ahead and bombs Syria. So, I mean, are we surprised? No. Does it suck? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's beyond that. And, we already knew from day one that he's going to continue stealing the oil in Syria and the northeast. So we're talking about the provinces of Hasakeh and Dore. So this is where you have the largest oil reserves. And, you know, they're partnering up with the Kurdish-led SDF. So we already knew that they're going to continue stealing the oil. The convoys are still going in from Iraq through the Al-Walid crossing. You know, he didn't do anything about the Caesar Act sanctions. As a matter of fact, Blinken, who's the Secretary of State now, he was already saying to, what's his name again? Joe Rogan or something? Who works at the Washington Post, who blocked me, by the way. He was telling him that, yeah, you know, Joe Biden thinks holding onto the oil is effective and the sanctions are effective, and basically signaling before he even got elected that, yeah, he's going to keep Trump's policies, right? And I told you this was coming. How many videos have I done on this? How many times have I told you this shit? So now he also continues in Trump's footsteps in terms of strikes, right? So let's look at this, all right? Over here you have this little weasel, this little twerp, Kirby. Yes, that's his name. He actually gave the announcement, and you can see his picture over here, right? So the headline is from Arab News. It reads, U.S. bombs facilities in Syria used by Iran-backed militia. Okay? Wow, that like I've not heard that a million times before. Let me read you his statement, okay? I want to read you the official statement. So, let me pull it up for you. This is from Kirby, who's the Pentagon spokesman. All right. Here we go. So he says that at President Biden's direction, U.S. military forces earlier this evening conducted airstrikes against infrastructure utilized by Iranian-backed militant groups in eastern Syria. These strikes were authorized in response to recent attacks against American and coalition personnel in Iraq and to ongoing threats to those personnel. Specifically, the strikes destroyed multiple facilities located at a border control point used by a number of Iranian-backed militant groups, including Kataib Hezbollah. And so he's talking about the Hashd al-Sha'bi, right? So just to give you context, when we talk about when they're talking about Iran, Iranian-backed militia groups, they're talking about the Popular Mobilization Forces or the Popular Mobilization Units, right? So this is the Hashd al-Sha'bi. And there's, they say, oh, these are the Iranian proxies. First of all, they're not, they say these are just Shiite proxies. That's not true. First of all, they're made up of Shiites, Sunnis, Christians. It's a national defense force that is resisting the illegal military occupation by the United States and other coalition troops. So, but of course, they're not going to tell you that, right? Because if they talk about a resistance, what does that mean? They're resisting an occupation, and they can't portray themselves as occupiers because that goes against the whole narrative, right? No, the United States is there, to promote democracy. They're not occupiers. They can't have you believing that. So of course they refer to them as Iranian-backed proxies, right? That's how they have to refer to them. So just to translate the bullshit for you. So this proportionate military response. Yes, absolutely, right? I also find that an airstrike is a proportionate response to a rocket attack that has hurt no one. Yes, absolutely proportionate. This proportionate military response was conducted together with diplomatic measures, including consultation with coalition partners. Notice how when he says diplomatic measures, he says with coalition partners, okay? Because usually when you say you've engaged in diplomatic endeavors, that means you've talked to your enemy, right? Or you've talked to your adversary, or you've tried to perhaps get someone to mediate. In this case, perhaps Russia, right? Who knows? You would get someone to help you mediate. That's engaging in diplomacy, not going to your allies and be like, hey, should we bomb Syria? Oh yeah, let's go bomb Syria. No, that's not diplomacy, okay? That's conspiring to commit war, acts of aggression and war. So the operation sends an unambiguous message. President Biden will act to protect American and coalition personnel. At the same time, we have acted in a deliberate manner that aims to de-escalate the overall situation in both eastern Syria and Iraq. Yes, I love it. I love it when you de-escalate the situation with airstrikes. That seems like the rational thing to do when you want to de-escalate, right? You go and bomb someone, like fucking for virginity, right? Bombing for peace. Yes, that's how you de-escalate situations. This is diplomacy. Let's bomb the shit out of other people, right? I mean, nothing changes, right? You go back, you look at the Nixon administration, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, linebacker 1, linebacker 2, come on, just send 100 B-52s, bomb the shit out of Vietnam, and we'll call that diplomacy. Wow. So this is the official statement, right? And just to give you some context where this is on the map, right? So he didn't say it in the statement, but the area he's talking about is Al-Bukaman. So this is on the border over here. You can see that? Yeah. Okay, we got a couple of sheep on the side. Don't mind them. They're just chilling, all right? The sheep, they're good guys. They're just chilling. This is the area we're talking about here, Al-Bukaman. You see this is on the border between Syria and Iraq. And if you look at the piece from, I think it was ABC News, right? So this was really funny, how what they said in their article. They said over here that at President, so they said over here that another official described the airstrike as targeting a location through which both groups engaged in smuggling into Iraq. This is so hilarious because if you just go further up the border between Iraq and Syria and you look at the Al Walid crossing, right? The Al Walid border crossing, that is literally where the United States smuggles oil out of Syria and smuggles convoys into Syria illegally, right? So you've seen Trump do that, right? You've seen Biden do that. There's no difference. And so they have the gall, they have the stones to talk about illegal smuggling. You're literally stealing the fucking oil. That's the definition of smuggling. You're pirates. This is hilarious, honestly. So anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked about that, but it's just, there's so much hypocrisy. Like you can't read one sentence without finding, just enormous amounts of bullshit, tantamount to fucking war crimes. So I want you to understand something here, right? Because when the United States talks about we're bombing Iranian proxies, as they're saying here, or when they talk about striking Iranian infrastructure inside of Syria. You know what this is? This is Israel. Okay, this is the exact same excuse that Israel uses all the time to bomb Syria, right? So most of the time they won't even acknowledge it, but they have acknowledged that they've carried out hundreds of airstrikes. They don't even care. They've just taken advantage of the war, the fact that Syria is, in tatters because of this war since 2011. So they just go in every week and they bomb them. And I'm not exaggerating. Like it's almost verbatim what happens. And just to give you some context, I mean, look at this. I have just a couple of headlines over here, right? This is from 13th of January. Suspected Israeli strikes on Iran-linked targets kill dozens. This is from November 2019. Israel strikes Iranian targets in Syria after rocket attack. Okay, and this is another one from the Washington Post. Israel strikes Iranian targets in Syria in retaliation for planting of explosives on border. This is from November 2020. I mean, it's always the same excuse, right? They're always going to say this. Oh, look, we're striking Iranian targets. This doesn't even make any sense, right? Because you need to understand what they're trying to brainwash you with. Syria and Iran are sovereign countries. They're allowed to have an alliance. They're allowed to cooperate with each other, right? They're virtually neighbors. If Iran has troops, if Iran has a base, if Iran has a partnership or an alliance with Syria, that's Syria and Iran's business, right? Now you can disagree with it or not. You can disagree with it or agree with it, but it's Syria and Iran's business. What the fuck is the United States on the other side of the globe doing, sticking its nose in Iran and Syria's business? They're doing it for Israel. That's what it's about, right? So Israel, they must be extremely happy at this. They must be extremely happy with what's going on here, right? And just try to think of it this way. Can you imagine if, for example, the United States has 800 military bases spread out across the globe. If you're from the UK, you probably know Newquay, right? This is, it's now an airport. It used to be a bomber base all the way in Devon and Cornwall. Newquay, they used to have nuclear bombers there. So, the United States has bases everywhere. They have bases in Germany, Korea, you name it. Could you imagine if Syria bombed Korea, for example, because they have a U.S. base there? You would be like, what the hell is that? Okay, so why is it okay for the United States to bomb Syria because Iran has allegedly militias in there that they don't like? What kind of logic is that? It's none of your fucking business. Iran and Syria are not part of your territory. You don't get to decide what they can do with their own land and their own armies and their own alliances and partnerships. Who the fuck asked you? Oh, I know, Israel. So, I mean, Israel is besides the point here, really. This is just, it's just strikingly similar, no pun intended, to what we always see. And, they're saying here that in the media, they're saying that this is in response to two things, right? They're saying it's in response to an attack on personnel on February 15th, okay? Let me pull this up for you. Right. So they're saying the airstrike was this is from ABC News. The airstrike was in retaliation for a February 15th rocket attack against a U.S. base in the northern Iraqi city of Erbil that killed a coalition contractor and left several American contractors and a U.S. military service member wounded. Okay? They're also saying that this is because of what happened in the Green Zone, right? So the Green Zone, this is in Baghdad in Iraq. You have the U.S. Embassy. I mean, man, I need to pull up a picture. You're not going to understand what I'm talking about here. The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad is I'm not kidding. I'm not saying this is hyperbole. It's almost the size of Vatican City. Okay, this is how big it is. I just want to show you a picture. It's a military installation. To call it an embassy is kind of a joke, right? Embassies don't look like that usually. That's a fucking military base. Okay, this thing is enormous. It's ridiculous. It's an entire compound, right? It's its own city. So, this thing, I mean, obviously you shouldn't be firing rockets at an embassy, regardless. But the rockets on the Green Zone are nothing new. Okay, so my point here is that for them to say like this is something brand new which warranted some kind of response is nonsense. Moreover, Baghdad is not in Syria, at least not in the 21st century. Okay, moreover. what the fuck are you doing in Iraq still? I mean, why do you have contractors in Iraq? Why do you have military personnel in Iraq? Why are you still occupying this country in 2021? What the fuck are you doing there? What are you doing in Iraq? Who gave you the right to occupy Iraq? Like, this point is not even addressed. It's like they depart from the point, like, yeah, we are in Iraq and we want to defend ourselves. Well, what? Defend yourselves from what? You're the fucking occupiers. You're the invaders. You're there illegally. You have no fucking right to be in the country to begin with, you motherfuckers. You invaded it. You destroyed it. You are the offenders. You can't talk about defense. You're not the victims here, you motherfuckers. But no one even talks about this. It's just like accepted. Oh yeah, the United States is the victim. Someone fired a rocket that killed no one, and they thought it went at the embassy, right? And so therefore they had to go and strike Syria. What the fuck does Syria have to do with it? Oh no, you see, you don't understand. It's because Iran, they have these proxies everywhere, you know, and it's just a fucking salad, right? It's just the go-to excuse. It's the go-to excuse. Iran. Let's go bomb Syria. Iran. Let's go to this. Always. It's unbelievable, and people just swallow this, right? They just don't care. You know what's amazing to me? You know what's amazing to me? That Joe Biden still hasn't given you any of those checks. Have any of you gotten your checks? I know you fucking haven't. Have you gotten the 1,400? Let's forget about the 2,000. That's gone, man. You're never seeing that shit. Unfortunately, the 1,400. Have you seen it? I might have a clue where it is. I'll show you. Okay, bear with me. I think I know where your relief checks went, guys. Take a look. I think, this is just a hunch, I think they might be over here somewhere in a field in Syria with the sheep in the form of shrapnel, right? This is courtesy of Raytheon. This is courtesy of the military industrial complex. So your checks are somewhere over here in a field. They've been turned into dust and shrapnel. That's where your checks are. Okay, that's what Joe Biden thinks of you. So, you know, can't do the $15 minimum wage. Nope. No, can't do that. Can't get you the $2,000 checks. No, that's $1,400 now. And, you know, we don't know where it is. It's coming. Mid-March maybe or something. It's coming. Be quiet. No, we can't do, we can't cancel any student loan. We'll have a little moratorium, on evictions and student loan debt payments until September. But that's it. We can't cancel anything. Above 10K, are you crazy? No way. We can't do anything. We just can't do it. Bombing Syria? Fuck yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. What are you talking about? Yalla, amshu. I just want to say on behalf of all Syrians to Joe Biden, خراي عليك يا ابن الشرموطة يا كلب يا واطي. خراي عليك يا قليل الشرف. So this is incredible, and I'm 100% sure tomorrow morning you're going to see the squad. You're going to see AOC and Ilhan Omar and Jamal Bowman. They're going to come out scowling. And they're going to condemn Joe Biden, right? They're going to call for his impeachment, right? Because when a president goes to war with another country, they're already at war, right? When you're already in the country and you got troops stealing oil, you're already at war. Nonetheless, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to just focus on the airstrike. We're going to pretend it. When a president goes to war without going to Congress first, right? When he violates the oath of his office, he abuses his power, right? Just as Trump did. That's extremely egregious. That's an extreme affront on the Constitution, right? On the separation of powers. This is unacceptable. Did Joe Biden go before Congress and ask if he could bomb Syria? Again, I've told you this many times before. I don't care if Congress agrees with Joe Biden or not, because that still doesn't mean that he can bomb Syria, right? Just because the U.S. Congress decides something does not make it universal law. Nonetheless, just in the context of U.S. law, did he consult with Congress? No. So what does he do? On what basis is he bombing Syria? I can't wait for AOC to call him out, right? I can't wait for a War Powers Act to limit his ability, right? They tried that with Trump after Soleimani. They tried that. Didn't work, unfortunately. But the White House spokesperson, Jen Psaki, she had something interesting to say actually in 2017. Right? I found a really succinct tweet. She says, What is the legal authority for strikes? Assad is a brutal dictator, but Syria is a sovereign country. Oh, Jen, thank you so much. I'm glad that we see eye to eye. I can't wait for Jen tomorrow morning to reaffirm the fact that Syria is a sovereign country, right? I can't wait for her to publicly disavow and condemn Joe Biden's decision to bomb Syria, a sovereign country. And of course, this has no legal basis, whether in terms of US law or international law. Remember, this is a complete, absolute violation of the United Nations Charter. You do not have the right to just go and bomb other countries and UN member states because you feel like it or because you think that there is some kind of impending threat, right? Again, Bush doctrine. Oh, we have to attack them before they attack us. This wasn't even that. This was a retaliatory thing. They're saying it. They're not even using the Bush doctrine here. They're just saying, yeah, this is payback. Allegedly, right? It's payback. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. I can't wait for her to condemn Biden, right? I can't wait for the squad to come out and publicly scrutinize Biden. Oh, they're going to do such a good job, man. They are going to slice him and dice him. You know it, just you wait. Oh my God. They are not going to say shit. They're not going to do shit, man. You know, I'm just going to double check because I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. But when I saw that Joe Biden had just bombed Syria, what Ilhan Omar did, yeah, she's still not talking about it. Yeah, so this is Ilhan Omar's Twitter, right? Again, I'm pretty sure that she runs her own Twitter account, right? I'm hoping at least, because that would be very concerning. So this is what she had to say, okay? So far, this is Ilhan Omar. All right. So she's saying progressives are often told to fall in line. It's time to tell moderates to fall in line. Okay. I don't even know what she's talking about. Now she's talking about Republicans and she's talking about the filibuster. No mention of Syria. You just bombed another country. You just bombed another country. Wake the fuck up. You just bombed another country. What is this? What is that? I mean, she's incompetent at best, and she's covering for Biden at worst. And I think we all know it's the latter, right? Not a word. I haven't seen anything, right? I mean, if there's one thing, if there's one event, right, that would prompt an urgent response, it would be going to war, right? It would be bombing another country. You would immediately have everyone go, yo, what the fuck? Holy shit, you just bombed another country? What are you doing? What is wrong with you? Especially as Congress people, right? He's essentially violating the separation of powers here. He did not go before them and plead his case. He just fucking went and did it. And of course, you know where this stems from, right? All of this, right, comes from the AUMF, right? The Authorization for Use of Military Force. And if you go and look at the picture of George Bush signing that shit, Joe Biden is standing right behind the motherfucker, right? Because he essentially helped he helped George Bush build the case for the Iraq War. Again, it was still illegal. It doesn't matter what the U.S. Congress thinks, it's still illegal. But nonetheless, they've been using the AUMF from 2001 and 2003 to justify legally inside the United States all of the subsequent military actions that they take. Any drone strike, any airstrike, any encroachment. I love that word, right? Obama used a mild encroachment, right? Any kind of violation. That's what they've been using. Oh, we're fighting terrorism. It's the war on terror, right? Again, it's just like the war on drugs. It's just like they just create a boogeyman. They create a little legal framework for them to operate within, and then just go fucking wild. They will take something illegal and make it legal and do whatever the fuck they want, and no one's going to stop them. So this is astonishing, man. This is frankly astonishing. I mean, again, I'm not surprised, but my heart sank. It's not particularly nice when you see your country being bombed. I mean, last time, again, I don't have any family in this particular area, but last time Donald Trump bombed Syria, in 2018. This is, of course, if you're not going to include the rest of the U.S. covert operations. But when the U.S., the U.K., and France bombed Syria in 2018 in April, was it April 12th? I think they bombed Damascus, right? And so I remember calling out my cousins, trying to see if they're okay. And yeah, that's... So anyway, yeah, it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting. I told you, look, I told you, man. You guys thought this was satire, right? This is not satire. Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition death cult. It's real. It's real. I told you. I told you. You see? I told you this was coming. I fucking warned you, man. I've been telling you this for the last year. I've been telling you this for the last year. And all these people have been, and even in progressive media, they've been talking about, oh my God, Joe Biden, he's the lesser of two evils. He's going to be shitty, but not as bad as Trump. Well, how is he not as bad as Trump? This is exactly the same as Trump. He's keeping sanctions on Syria, right? Brutal sanctions that are starving civilians, that have crippled the economy, that have destroyed the lira, the Syrian pound. He's continuing to steal oil in northeastern Syria, right? Now he's bombing Syria just like Trump. Literally no fucking difference. How can you sit there and tell me that Joe Biden is the lesser of two evils? It's the exact same evil. He's still sanctioning Iran. He still hasn't gone back into the JCPOA, into the Iran nuclear deal. The kids are still in cages. The kids are still in the goddamn cages. They just have air conditioning now and you know, fancier containers to put them in. They're still cages. You haven't gotten your stimulus check. He scammed you. He's not going to give you a $15 minimum wage. You're not even going to see any substantial student loan cancellation. Nothing. How can you sit there as a rational adult and tell me that this guy is any better? It's the same brand of scum. But it's okay. You know why? Because it's diverse. Dude, let me tell you, as a Syrian, I'm so happy that a black man leading the Pentagon just bombed my country. That makes me so much, like, it makes me warm and fuzzy inside, right? I'm so glad that you also have Avril Haines, a woman who's the director of national intelligence, also leading these imperialist endeavors, right? I'm so happy that Kamala Harris, right, is the VP. And she's also partaking in these imperialist conquests. I'm so happy, man. It makes me so happy. Now I don't have to worry, right? I'm so glad that your relief checks, your $1,400, which should have been $2,000, are now just, you know, turned into dust and shrapnel and used to, you know, further shit on the Middle East. Isn't that great? I think we're both getting a great deal out of this, don't you think? Me as a Syrian, you know, you guys as Americans, I think we're getting a great deal out of this thing. Everything is fine. It's nice and dandy. It's okay, right? Because Donald Trump is gone. The orange Cheetah Man is gone. Now we can have pink bombs. We can have, you know, rainbow-colored drones, right? Here we go again. Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition death cult. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Shh, go back to brunch. Everything is okay. The kids are still in cages, right? You're not going to get your student debt canceled. You're not going to get a $15 minimum wage. You can go and fuck yourself. The prison industrial complex is going to continue. The war machine is going to continue. Biden's going to keep sanctioning Syria, keep sanctioning Venezuela, keep sanctioning Iran. He's going to keep stealing Syria's oil. He's going to sell off Iran's oil like a literal pirate, just, you know, stealing oil off of ships and selling it off. Everything the same. Continue all of Trump's policies, doing all these favors for Israel, continuing to illegally recognize the occupied Syrian Golan Heights as Israeli, Jerusalem as the capital, violating UN Security Council resolutions. It's fine. Just go back to brunch. Everything is okay, man. Thank God the cabinet is diverse. I'm so happy that a rainbow cabinet just bombed my country. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Liberals, thank you. Wow. You know, you want to talk about diversity? There's nothing diverse about Joe Biden's cabinet, right? There's nothing diverse whatsoever. These people could not be more, they could not be more in harmony with the last bunch of scum that just left. They're continuing the exact same policies. It's all a continuation. Every administration continues the same shit. You know, they cater to corporations. They screw over the working class. They keep the wars going. It's the same old, same old, same old. Nothing changes. But hey, the bombs are pink. So don't complain. Otherwise, you're a sexist. Be happy that the VP is a woman. Go and fuck yourselves. Go and fuck yourselves, man. Kharaya alaykum. Kharaya alaykum. Yo, let me get a sip, man. Let me get a sip of my water or something. It's really exhausting, and I was, again, I'm telling you, like, this could not. I was watching Lawrence of Arabia, and then this shit happens. I think you guys have sent a couple of super chats that I'm going to read for you. I thank you very much. By the way, we got 752 people watching. Beautiful. We only got 400 likes, so 487 likes. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm, especially that I dared to put the name of my country in the title of the video. You know, if you put Syria in the title of the video, it gets demonetized or limited monetization. If you send a PayPal and you put Syria in the note, they will take it off to the side to look through it, right? They will put it on hold. Same if you put the word Palestine. Yeah, I'm not joking. This is real. So, you know, we got to fight the algorithm. So thank you for doing that. And I highly recommend you join on Rockfin, not just for my sake. You're going to find Jimmy Dore. You're going to find Lee Camp. You're going to find Unauthorized Disclosure, Status Coup, Ron Placone, Convo Couch, Nico. You're going to find all your favorite lefty channels on Rockfin. Okay, so it's really worth it, and there's no censorship bullshit. I'm streaming right now live on Rockfin at the same time as YouTube. Okay, so I'll read your super chats in just a second, but it is important for independent media. This is basically, you'll be doing everybody a favor if you sign up on Rockfin. Again, it's free. Okay, it's totally free. You can make an account for free and watch the videos for free. But if you do subscribe for $10 a month, you get everyone's premium. It's like Netflix for politics, basically, right? You'll get Jimmy Dore's premium, Nico's premium, Graham, everyone. So I think it's a great deal, and there's no censorship, which is my favorite part. So yeah, again, let me just read your super chats. I really appreciate the super chats. Hold on, let me pull them up over here. Okay, it's not showing for some reason. Hold on, let me refresh. I hope I don't disappear. Oh, Joe Biden is such a scumbag, isn't he? He's such a scumbag. It's like, you know, we told you it was going to be this way. I sat here for the better part of a fucking year, and I told you Joe Biden was going to be like this. I told you he's going to bomb Syria. I told you he's going to keep on all the same policies as Trump. I told you. And you sat there. A lot of people sat there in progressive media. A lot of people sat there and they lied to your fucking faces. They took you for fools. You know who they are. You know who they are. People who call themselves progressives. They sat down and they looked you in the eyes or in the camera and they told you that, yeah, Joe Biden is going to be slightly better than Donald Trump. In what way? Not better for me. Not better for you. They lied to you. They fucking lied to you. They cucked you. You're going to let yourself be disrespected like that? You're going to let people fucking lie to you? We're not here to sugarcoat anything. These people are imperialist scum. These people serve corporations. They're fucking droids, right? They may call this cabinet diverse. It's not diverse. It's a continuation of every other administration before it. They support the corporations. They support the wars. They screw over the working class. That's not diversity. That's a continuation of the same old shit with a different mask. Stop letting other people cuck you, man. Don't let them fool you. Don't buy into the shit. There's no sugarcoating this. People are starving. They can't pay their rent. You got millions of Americans that are uninsured. They got no health care. They lost their jobs. Where the fuck are the checks? Oh, I know. They went to Raytheon so they could bomb my country. Why? Because the United States wants to keep occupying the Middle East illegally, stealing the resources, stealing Syria's oil, threatening Iran, doing Israel's bidding. That's why. So I get screwed, you get screwed, and who makes off with all the money? The rich assholes, Joe Biden and his friends. And nothing fundamentally changes. As a matter of fact, I would argue it's even worse because Donald Trump was a gift to Joe Biden, right? This guy came along with no mask on, right? He exposed the U.S. for what it really is. He went wild and he handed everything on a silver platter to Joe Biden. Joe Biden is taking the shit. And he's like, why should I roll back anything that Trump did? I'm not going to roll back the embassy. I'll move it from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. I'm not going to unrecognize the Israeli occupation of the Syrian Golan Heights or East Jerusalem. I'm not going to lift sanctions on Syria. I'm not going to lift sanctions on Iran. I'm not going to lift sanctions on Venezuela. I'm not going to stop supporting Juan Guaido, this puppet. I'm not going to stop bombing Syria. I'm not going to stop stealing Syria's oil. Jesus Christ, 99.9% of all the shit that Trump did, he's just continuing it. Why the fuck would he roll it back? Trump was a gift to the Biden administration. They can't believe their fucking luck. And no one is going to call them out. Do you think MSNBC is going to call them out? Do you think the Squad is going to call them out? Do you think these fucking progressive cucks that call themselves progressive, they masquerade as progressives, the boutique left, you think they're going to call them out? You know, at best, you know what they're going to tell you at best? Pay very close attention tomorrow morning when you see all these other channels doing videos about Syria. Pay very close attention, right? What they're going to tell you is, oh, you know, maybe Joe Biden, he shouldn't have done this without congressional approval. No, hold it right there. Your Congress does not run the fucking world, asshole. Okay, your Congress does not supersede international law. Your Congress is not the United Nations. This is first and foremost a violation of the United Nations Charter. It's first and foremost a violation of international law. Okay, first and foremost, that's the most important thing. It's a violation of the human rights of Syrians. It's a violation of the sovereignty of Syria, of the sovereignty of Iraq. The entire occupation is a violation of international law and of the human rights of Arabs and Iranians consequently. Okay, that's very important. And they're not going to debunk the bullshit narrative that they're giving you. Oh, the US was striking Iranian targets in Syria, as if that makes it okay. Once again, Iran and Syria have a partnership. Okay, they have an alliance, just like the United States and the United Kingdom have alliances with each other, or the United States has alliances with Canada and other countries where they put their bases. Does that mean Iran or Syria can go and bomb those bases because they don't like those countries? Would you accept that? You're not going to hear any of these motherfuckers question that. You know why? Because they underlyingly believe that it's okay to push this anti-Iranian propaganda, this anti-Syrian propaganda, this anti-Iraqi propaganda, and they believe in American supremacy. That's it. So pay very fucking close attention. They're too pussy to call it out, right? They're not going to talk about the fact that you have a resistance effort going on, that you have Iran supporting resistance efforts. No, they're not going to say that like that. They're not going to say that this helps Israel because they're not going to talk about Israel. They're too fucking pussy to do their jobs, goddammit. To do their jobs, right? If you are an American and specifically you are covering politics as a journalist in America, who is the largest recipient of aid from the United States? Israel. Who is the strongest partnership with the United States? Israel. You're not going to talk about Israel? Man, you are fucking lazy at best. You are lazy at best. All right? That's some bullshit. These people, they do like one video about Israel in the entire year because they're too pussy actually doing news, actually holding power centers accountable, actually exposing wrongdoings. How many channels talked about the fact that Israel is not vaccinating Palestinians? How many talked about the annexation? How many talked about the bombings of Syria that I just showed you, for example, every week? They never fucking mention it. And you're literally paying for it. How the fuck can you not report on that as a journalist? Never mind when you are paying for it. You are paying for that shit. I mean, if you got a bill in the goddamn mail, if you got a phone bill with weird numbers on it, you would be like, holy shit, what is this? I did not call these numbers. Someone's doing something fishy with my money here. But you're okay with your government giving Israel $500 million in this December, just 2 months ago, in military aid. Meanwhile, you got millions of Americans that are unemployed and uninsured. Holy shit! You call yourself a fucking journalist? Unbelievable. So anyway, I went off on a bit of a tangent right there, but it's important to say. So I'm going to read your super chats right now. We got one from Policy Politics. It says, but TYT told us vote for Biden would save us. Yeah, they cucked you. They cucked you. No, not you particularly, but yeah. Yeah, it turns out the Rainbow Coalition death cult is not saving anyone except the prophets of Raytheon. You know, it's okay, man. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You know why? Because a couple of CEOs over at, the military industrial complex, Lockheed Martin or whatever, they're going to have some brand new swimming pools as a result of this. So don't worry about it. Okay. You built someone a new swimming pool. It's okay. M10 Berserk, thank you for the super chat. M10 says, Salam Habibi, can you try to get Khalid Baidoun, Sana Saeed, and Qasim Rashid on the live? Shukran, much love for all you do. You exemplify real journalism. Taslim li Habibi, I really appreciate that very much. I always tell you guys to give me suggestions for more guests. I'm more than happy to bring on other guests because, we need more anti-imperialist voices. We need more Arab voices. We need more people that are actually outside the bubble. You feel me? So I will definitely look into that, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Habibi. Hold on, I missed my window. So Anna says, AOC used to call the facilities on our borders concentration camps under Trump. Now, there are facilities under Biden. Right. You put it very eloquently. I think I raised this point yesterday or before yesterday, and you're absolutely right. So you can go and look. It's astounding the change in tone and rhetoric. Yeah, in her wording. Yes. I wonder if she'll go and do a photo shoot. Like a photo op in front of the cages. Who knows? Who knows? I told you I gave her credit yesterday for calling out DHS and all this stuff, but it's not enough. You'll see, pay attention to this because you'll see people, progressives in the Democratic Party, like they'll criticize certain things, but they won't actually name Biden, which is weird because they have no problem naming Ted Cruz or, Manchin or you name it, any other senator who's like, Joe Manchin's a Democrat, but I mean, they have no problem with Republicans. And of course, they have no problem going after, establishment Democrats when they veer a little bit too off course, right? But in general, they're not going to call out the party leadership, Pelosi, Schumer, or Biden. The leadership is immune from criticism. They're insulated, and they keep it that way. It's weird, right? It's weird. They have no problem calling out Republican leadership. And the whole point, this is important to remember. The whole point why AOC got elected, why Ilhan Omar, all these Justice Democrats, is because they were a threat to Democratic leadership. Remember, AOC unseated Crowley, was number 3 in the Democratic Party. She didn't go and unseat a Republican. She was a firebrand because she was like a breath of fresh air in the Democratic Party. She was holding Democrats accountable, and we're not seeing much of that anymore. Anyway, what's up with that, right? Now they're overflow facilities. Yeah, okay, sure. And it's not just her. It's all the media, all of them, right? They're running cover for Biden. It's disgusting. Fuck these people, man. They're scum. They're absolute scum. And just like with the cages, just like the kids in cages, they're not going to say shit about Syria. Right? They're not going to say anything. It's heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking. So I think there are a couple of super chats that I've missed that have scrolled up. I will try and retrieve them. You'll give me just a second. I'm trying to find them, man. It's not showing me everything, but I'm pretty sure I saw one from Ignitable earlier, and I'm sorry, but it's not displaying for me. I'm just saying the last 3 for some reason. Hold on. I think we got some also, we got some on PayPal, so I'm going to read them for you. If you want, you can also send super chats on PayPal because YouTube takes 30% cut. This one is from Colin. Thank you, Habibi. He says, I tried sending this message via super chat, but it wouldn't let me send it. But you get more money through this. All I have to say is that America's trash. America is fucking trash. I'm angry on your behalf, and I'm so sorry you have to relive the destruction of your home by our hands. I will fight for this country to the death, but I'm beginning to wonder if it is worth living here. I have 3 fucking passports. If it wasn't for health reasons, I would fucking leave. Again, I'm so sorry, Habibi. Yeah, akhi, brother, I appreciate that so much. I really do. And thank you. I really appreciate that. We got to laugh a bit sometimes. The Rainbow Coalition Death Cult t-shirt, for example. I mean, this shit is like, we got to have a little bit of humor, otherwise we'd be crying the whole time. But it is heartbreaking. My heart sank reading that. And it's I mean, I don't even have any connection to this area, right? Like, just to bring it up on the map for you. Like, hold on a second. Yeah, I mean, look, this area right in the border, I don't know anyone from there. I've never been there. I don't think I've been that far. I've been to Palmyra over here, Tedmor, which is beautiful. Here you have a U.S. base right here, Tenaf, by the way. But regardless, my point here is that it's still heartbreaking. It's still a violation of one's sovereignty. It's still an act of war. I mean, this is we're not exaggerating here or saying hyperbole. You bombed another country. That is an act of fucking war, and people are taking this so lightly. And you are seeing things like this shit. I mean, you can't even make this up. I'm serious. Look at this, for example. I've saved this because I wanted to show it the brain rot that liberals seem to have. Right? It's frankly astonishing. At least I saved it somewhere. God damn it. I seem to have lost it. But my point is, you're seeing people on Twitter saying things like, oh, well, at least Joe Biden, he bombed Syria without any tweeting. Like, there was no braggadocio or like showing off or making a show out of it. What? Who the fuck cares? I would rather Joe Biden tweet like a madman than actually bomb other countries. Yeah. Like, have you lost your mind? This is how they try to rationalize and whitewash war crimes and acts of war. Acts of war. I mean, just think about this for a second. Could you imagine if Syria bombed infrastructure in America, whatever the fuck that means? I mean, just think back to Trump when Iran shot down a drone. Just a drone. There's no one in the drone. It's a robot, right? That was in Iranian airspace, illegally in Iranian airspace. They have every right in the world to shoot it down. I mean, to question that is lunacy. Even that over a robot, a goddamn plane, an unmanned aerial vehicle. Donald Trump was ready to declare war over a fucking droid. So never mind if something happened on mainland America. Could you imagine the outrage? Do you think that Ilhan Omar would have wasted 1 second in condemning what happened? Right? I didn't see her wasting any fucking time about the Capitol riots. Like, why is it okay for you to bomb our country, but when something happens to you, oh my God, you're on Twitter. Oh, we'll find you. Like, you won't mince words. You won't mince words. But when you're attacking and killing other people, oh yeah, oh what? I'm gonna act like that's not even happening. What? Syria? What's Syria? These people are really a disappointment, to say the least. They really are. In any case, Habib, I really appreciate it. And we've got another one over here. Again, you'll forgive me because the internet is a bit subpar. This is from, there's no note attached, but it's from Elias. I really appreciate it very much. Thank you for the generous donation. Thank you for supporting independent media. Bless you. And we have another one over here also from, 1 second, from Tina. Also, there's no note attached, but nonetheless, thank you very much, Tina. I'm most grateful. And I'm pretty sure some people sent something over here, but hold on, give me a second. Again, I'm really sorry, guys, because I know some of you sent some super chats on YouTube, but they're not loading for some reason. Maybe, again, it's because I put Syria in the title. Oh, okay, I can see them. Some people sent something. So we got one over here from Emblem Fate. Emblem says, I asked you yesterday, your new uncle just released some, hold on, let me pull this up for you so you can read it, right? Let me pull this up for you so you can read it, hopefully. There we go. I think you can see that. So Emblem Fate says, I asked you yesterday, your new uncle just released some democracy strikes. Anyone want to bet the squad won't touch this, or barely? They never talk about foreign policy. At least Lindsay doesn't pretend to care. That's true. As vile as Lindsey Graham is, as vile of a swamp creature as he is, yeah, he just doesn't care. Like, what you see is what you get, right? I mean, really, like, he as a matter of fact, he was the one in the Senate when talking to Mike Pompeo. He asked him, like, yeah, did you secure that contract with an American oil company and the Kurds to make sure that, you can start modernizing the oil fields in northeastern Syria? Don't you love this new speak, modernizing the oil fields? Yeah, stealing the oil. Okay, I'm going to come modernize your apartment, whatever the fuck that means, right? So yeah, Lindsey Graham, he just says it out loud. And then he also talked about Caesar sanctions in the same breath, right? Which are starving Syrians right now. You have bread lines in a country that used to export wheat. And he's like, oh, is more coming? Great. Yeah, that's Lindsey Graham. And again, that speaks to the larger difference between Democrats and Republicans, right? The Republicans, for the most part, they'll just straight up tell you what they're about, right? They don't care. The Democrats, they'll do shit like, oh, look, we're so diverse. By the way, are we bombing Syria at 9 or 9:55? I want to make it. It's the same shit. Sandra says, something tells me that tweet will be deleted. Good eye, Richard. You're talking about the one from Jen, right? This one over here from Jem Psaki. Who knows? But watch her, as I said on Twitter, watch Jen twist herself into a goddamn pretzel during the White House briefing, right? If she's even asked that. I just wish there's one journalist, one person who just asks her word for word, verbatim, what she wrote here. What is the legal authority for the strikes? Assad is a brutal dictator, but Syria is a sovereign country. Just say that. Just somebody say that word for word and see what she answers. You're going to see her do a 180 and a 360 and a back to a 180. No, actually, that's two complete revolutions. No, she's going to do a 180 and she's going to backtrack this entire comment right here. She'll find a justification. And what's the justification again? Oh, well, look, man, they threatened our coalition personnel. No. What are your coalition personnel doing there? You are the threat. You are a literal fucking invader. You should not be there in the first place. You have no right to be there since 2003, nor into 1991. You just fuck off. You are not the victim. You are the invader. You are the oppressor. Okay, that's number one. Number two, that does not give you the right to retaliate against another country. Okay, that's still a violation of international law, the UN Charter. And again, Baghdad is in Iraq, not Syria. Right? I mean, think of the fucking mental gymnastics that they're doing here, right? They're saying a rocket hit the US embassy in Baghdad. It's Iran's fault, so we're going to bomb Syria. What the fuck? I mean, yes, of course, you could, Iran is partnered with Iraq and Syria, right? These countries are neighbors. There is a link, but the fucking mental gymnastics that they go through. And again, we got to have the boogeyman, and the boogeyman is Iran. And, that's how they're doing it. Christ. So over here, we have got some more super chats. Thank you all for supporting independent media. Seriously, I'm really grateful. So over here, Sabi says, I'm so angry about this bullshit. I'd love to hear something about Syrian music. How does it influence you? Music is clearly important to you with that background. Hey, last time you asked me a question about Syrian food also, right? That was really fun. I really appreciated that last time when you asked me about Syrian culture, Syrian food. Now, when it comes to Syrian music, man, honestly, I mean, I'm not too well versed. I'm not too well versed with Syrian artists. I mean, me, for example, I like to listen to Amr Diab, who's Egyptian, right? Or okay, this is going to be very embarrassing, but I really don't mind Nancy Ashraf's music. She's Lebanese, but again, that's actually an interesting thing because she sings with an Egyptian accent. So just to give you context, in the Arabic world, an Egyptian accent is like you'd have English rock bands, British rock bands, they would still sound American, right? Because that's kind of like the standard or the fashion. And it's the same thing in the Arabic world, right? Egypt is kind of like the Hollywood and the movie and music industry of the Arab world, right? So everyone will try and sound a little Egyptian, right? And yeah, I mean that's it, man. But the thing is, I've learned to play guitar. I've learned to play electric guitar, acoustic guitar. I've not picked up oud, the Arabic oud. I've yet to pick that up. But man, it is depressing, right? And it's like you said, Tabi said last time that every time we cover Syria, unfortunately, it's in a really depressing light. And a really somber circumstance, unfortunately. And so we have to do positive things like this. Yes, we do. Yeah, man, it's hard, right? They almost make you forget like what is even going on with your culture. They almost make you forget your history. Like you're so caught up just trying to keep up with what's happening right now that you don't get to appreciate your own culture. That's really horrible. That's really bad. So yeah. But I know I talked about Egypt being kind of like the Arabic world center for music and shows. But to Syria's credit, we do make some good shows as well, right? If you ask any Syrian, they're going to tell you Bab al-Hara, for example, is a really famous one. We do our own. We have our own industry as well, but unfortunately, with the war, war has decimated a lot of things. All right, but yeah, I'm listening more to other Arabic music when I do than I am to Syrian artists for some reason. So anyway, it's okay. Danielle, I appreciate your comment. I see your comment on Rockfin. I appreciate it very much. It's okay. We get through it together, right? We have. I think what's important is we have solidarity with each other. Like it's we all getting screwed in one way or another, right? By the same people. In one way or another, we're getting screwed by the same people. So we got to have solidarity with each other. That's really important. And I think this speaks to a larger point. It's like when we talk about, the UK government when we talk about the United States or the United Kingdom, we're talking about the government, not the people, right? Like the average person, people are mostly good, man. They don't want to go to war. They don't want to feed corporations and, go and get their limbs blown off and go and hurt people. No one wants that. And this is where the media comes in. This is why these countries, they rely on having such a strong propaganda machine to brainwash people into going off and dying in wars and into accepting these economic hardships at home as well, right? So again, I know I'm going a little off on a tangent, but it's important to have solidarity with each other and to make a distinction between governments and people, right? I think that's quite clear, but just wanted to reiterate that nonetheless. Sue, thank you very much for the tip. Hunter as well, thank you very much for the tip. Emblem Fate says, as a black person, I never wanted my representation to be like my heroes, Fred Hampton, Kwame Ture, etc., who were strongly anti-war. What I really wanted was a black guy to betray his own race and drop lesser evilism bombs. Okay, I'm sensing the sarcasm here. Sorry, Rich. I hate these tokens as much as you do. Liberals are dangerous. Malcolm X was right. Yeah, liberals are definitely dangerous. And I think we went through this clip together. I think or at least I posted it. But there's a great clip of Malcolm X talking about the dangers of the white liberal. And I mean, it still rings true today. It really does, right? Because he's the wolf in sheep's clothing. He's going to masquerade as your friend. And this applies not just in the United States, but, more broadly in general, right? You're going to have people that use tokenism, that use diversity as a catchphrase, but there's no real diversity when it comes to policies. And they end up actually pushing policies that screw over the very minorities, the very marginalized groups, the very demographics that they claim to be in support of. Right? Bastards. So, I'm all the way with you. I'm all the way with you. Emblem Fate, thank you. And thank you, Anna, for the super chat. Anna says, Rockfin leading the way, hashtag boycott YouTube. This is so good to see so many people on Rockfin. I really appreciate it. Major Tom says, my favorite part of Rockfin is easy to forget, no ads. Man, I can't believe I've never even mentioned that. I completely forget to mention that. That's true. There are no ads on here. That's another benefit of joining. And once again, I think if you go on, you go on Free Thinking Media. I mean, just look at all the channels that are here, man. Just look at all of these channels. Unlimited Hangout, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, Nico. I mean, you got everyone that you want, right? How many of these you recognize, man? You name it, they're here. Look, there's Jordan, Status Quo. Look, we got also Ian, we got Vanessa, we got Frank, we got everybody, man. I actually don't see myself. Where am I? I'm over here. There you go. Yours truly. Hey, where are we at? 4,100 followers? Let's try and bump that number up to 4,200 at least, man. Again, you can make an account for free, so definitely go make it. And as you can see, all the videos are here, and a live stream is there as well. And if you subscribe, you hit the subscribe button, you get everyone's premium, every single channel that's over here. Everyone, all of it. Jimmy Dore, Kim, everyone. You're going to get them. Lee Camp, Graham Elwood, Convo. So I think it's a great deal. But just going back to reading your comments, I'm trying to stay focused on your comments because the subject matter is quite depressing. We don't want to stay. So I'm just scrolling up, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Yeah, Emblem Fate says, remember when I told you at least Trump would make me laugh on Twitter or on TV with some TV interview where he accidentally admits we're in Syria because the generals want to get money and make companies happy. It's depressing, but at least Trump lightened the mood. Biden won't even do that. Dude, exactly. There are literally just like two. Okay, you can count them on one hand. I think 2 moments where Trump was spitting facts, and this is to no one's surprise before he gets elected, right? After he gets elected, it's a completely different story. And of course, he was also talking crap before he got elected. But in terms of Syria, right, like as you mentioned, he was calling it out, right? He was saying, where is this money going to? Like, who are these rebels? Like, you know, we were supporting terrorists, and we don't even know where the logistics are ending up, and we're basically helping out companies. Like, he was calling out the racket, and this, he did this also. I'm not just in an interview, but also during the Republican debates, right? Like, I was astonished. You know, he's on a stage with like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Ben Carson and Jeb Bush, and he Donald Trump of all people, this orange clown, appeared the least pro-war, if we can put it that way, right? Of course, once again, once he gets in office, it's a completely different story. But yeah, Biden won't even do that, which is, you know, it's insane. But again, it's a con, right? I mean, I think we can all agree that Donald Trump, I mean, whether he believed it or not, it's a con. He just said those things because it sounded good, and he wanted to demark himself from, you know, the rest of the politicians, the rest of the Republican field, and get elected. That's it. And once he got elected, he just did the same crap that they do, and a bit worse if you, in certain regards. And now Biden is just continuing them, right? Every administration just builds on top of the previous pile of shit the last one left behind. They're criminals. These people are scum. They're scum. So finally, I can see the YouTube super chats that I missed at the top. They are here now. Okay, I can read them to you. So we got one here from Ignitable Bump. He says, in 2017, the United States bombed a mosque packed full of civilians in Al-Jannah, Syria. Then U.S. drones bombed the site again, hitting civilians fleeing the mosque, killing 48 civilians and injuring 100. This is just one of many other incidents where you have, I mean, we're talking hundreds of casualties, as you just mentioned, and committed by the United States, and no one even cares, no one even bats an eye. It's just like, for example, you had, again, you'll have to excuse me because I can't remember which year this was. It's I think 2016, perhaps in 2018 as well. It happened twice. You had the U.S. Bombing the Syrian army that was in the middle of fighting ISIS. So basically, they literally just helped out ISIS. And then they're like, oops, we're sorry. And we're talking about, like, you have hundreds of casualties, injured and dead. I mean, just, you know, and no one bats an eye. It's like, yeah, whatever, you know, yeah, sure. What the fuck are you doing there? Like, it's horrendous. And this, you know, if you recall when I was standing outside the Old Bailey in London, and I talked about how you look at these WikiLeaks, the Iraq war logs, you look at the casualties, you know, they really think of people like ants. It's like these people can't grasp, they can't visualize these are actually human beings that we're talking about. I mean, in the example you just mentioned, or in general, like, they just, when it comes to other countries, they can't conceptualize that these are actual human beings. They have friends, they have families, they have loved ones, they have experiences, they have dreams, ambitions, and they're just being killed off. And it's like, it doesn't even make the news. Most of the time, it's like not even important, you know? It's so dehumanizing. It's on purpose, right? Because that way it makes it easier to go to war. You're going to be like, people will acquiesce much more because they're not used to actually considering them as human beings. So also, I'm so sorry because I just realized you couldn't see me. I'm here now. Okay, so you could, the screen was still on. A TikTok toy toddler. TikTok toy toddler. That's a tongue twister right there. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Shadow Band Refugee says, tax strike now, get in the streets. Hey man, you could say that shit 6 months ago and in 6 months and it would still be right on the money, no pun intended. People, man, ever since last year, I mean, since years already, but like particularly last year, we should have had death strikes, rent strikes. Oh man, but they make it hard to organize on purpose, right? I mean, there's been a concerted effort to destroy labor movements, to destroy all kinds of black liberation movements, to destroy feminist movements, Marxist, you name it, man. Anything that is like slightly or even remotely beneficial to working class people, to marginalized groups in America. You know, if it threatens power structures, they will come and dismantle it from within, right? It's horrible. And so, yeah, in any case, I don't want to go on off on a tangent, but I share your sentiment. I share your sentiment. Ronaldo Martinez, thank you, says, well, war criminal Bush being buddy-buddy with this jerk is no coincidence. Yeah, of course. And of course, you can recall Joe Biden said, Dick Cheney is a good man. I like Dick Cheney. You remember that? Wow. I mean, it's not every day that you see Satan being endorsed on, during an interview. It's not every day. But, it would make sense that Joe Biden would do it. Francisco, thank you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says many so-called progressives support this crap. Yeah, absolutely. That's if they even most of them won't even cover it, right? Because they don't want. Oh, we're not going to talk about Syria. We can't say anything even remotely in defense of the Syrian people or something that actually holds U.S. power structures accountable, meaning the State Department, meaning the national security state, meaning the military-industrial complex. It's all fucking blah blah. Right? They're just neoliberals who want healthcare. A lot of the boutique left. That's it. Right? It's very unfortunate because I remind you, the United States actually had a left at one point, a real left. It's a shame. Policy Politics says, oh yeah, well, again, I think that was the first one I read before. TYT told us to vote for Biden, that he would save us. How's that going, by the way? Huh? You able to push him left? We got one over here from JD. Jay says, we need to organize and protest. So tired of this. We need to somehow get to their pocketbooks. Shout, Richard. Amen. It's all about the pocketbooks. This is the whole thing, man, right? It's like if you can't go to the top, start from the bottom, right? When we're talking about the food chain here, right? Who's creating the wealth? It's the workers, right? They're creating all of this wealth and it's going to the top, to like a tiny minority at the top. Okay, you can't get to them. You got to go from the other side. You got to stop. You got to stop and go for their pocketbooks, right? This is why general strike is important. This is why, peaceful civil disobedience is important. Nonviolent civil disobedience. Derek says Biden just moved a step closer to winning himself a Nobel Peace Prize. This really irks me. I get the joke. I get the joke, but this irks me because, there are, my parents, for example, they are Nobel Peace Prize laureates, right? They, all United Nations peacekeepers, they were given the Nobel Peace Prize in 1988. And, you get figures once in a while like Henry Kissinger or Barack Obama, or just recently you saw Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, who just completely stained the thing. And I mean, it's horrendous, right? It's really, it has no meaning anymore when you give it to people like that. It's insulting, honestly. It's really insulting. But yeah, I get the joke. It's a good one. Obama's coming in whispering in Biden's ear, yeah, come on, bomb Syria now. And, inch by inch, just keep going, man. It's pretty, maybe you'll beat my record. Amanda says, Poppy, please recheck PayPal. Absolutely, I will. I apologize if I did not see it immediately. Sometimes it comes a bit delayed. Hey, we got a super chat over here from Elias. Elias says, thank you, Richard, for your intelligence, for your passion, for your commitment to justice, and for your articulate and eloquent defense of the defenseless. We love and support you. That is, I'm really humbling. Thank you so much for that, Elias. I really appreciate that. That's, you guys, you make me blush too much, man. I don't know what to say. I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful. And thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you very much. There's another one over here from Amanda. Amanda says, I don't really talk about my time in special ops or my disability. Now I found out that my goddaughter and her parents are hell-bent on her being a jet pilot. I've got to figure out how to stop this. She's a straight A student and in ROTC, big time. Well, I mean, the only thing that I know about that is the ejection seats. They can mess up your spine pretty bad. But, other than that, I'm not too familiar about, look, again, I don't know in her case what her motives are for perhaps joining up. But, I've talked about before how it's not just the culture, it's the economics of it that make people join up, right? It's like, again, most people are not born bad. They're not bad human beings. It's just they get forced into things, right? So in the United States, they'll kind of trick you into it. Not kind of. It's a scam, right? They'll offer you cash. They'll offer you an education. They'll offer you healthcare. And that's how they get people in the military, because they don't have a draft anymore. And that's how they keep the war machine going, right? And it's one part of the puzzle. Again, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but yeah, I mean, I think at the moment, at least, there's not much, nobility, shall we say, or there's not much in building a new swimming pool, like going off to fight so some CEO in the military industrial complex can have a new swimming pool, because that's what it's coming down to. And I don't just say that for the United States, I say that for the United Kingdom as well. It's just wars that make people rich. That's it. There's no real like good versus evil thing going on here at all. Quite the contrary, right? So I feel you, and I appreciate you for sharing. I appreciate that you shared that with us. Hopefully you can maybe sway her mind or something. I hope so in any case. And so Todd, thank you for the super chat. Todd says it feels like a distraction. Now, you might be onto something there, because there's another point I wanted to raise with this strike on Syria now. Once again, they're using this Israeli pretext that you always hear, that, oh, look, we're bombing Iranian targets inside of Syria, right? As if that makes it okay. It's still not okay, but nonetheless, that's their line of thinking. But what's the underlying message here? Because if you recall, just a few days ago, the Biden administration is telling the Iranians, all of a sudden, they're ready to sit down for talks, right, regarding the Iran nuclear deal. Now, the Iranians have said ever since Trump pulled out of the deal that they're not going to renegotiate the deal, which is what Trump wanted and what Biden wants. Again, that's another thing that the media was not telling you. They have the exact same positions. They have the exact same positions as Israel. They're not interested in just nukes. They want to castrate Iran's missile program, ballistic missiles. That's nothing to do with nukes. They want to castrate exactly what you're seeing here, the Hashd al-Sha'bi, the resistance efforts that Iran is organizing in other countries, right? So that's what they want. That's what they're after. It's nothing to do with nukes, but they're not telling you that. Nonetheless, just going back to my original point, perhaps this is a way to kind of offset the gesture of goodwill. Because if you really think about it, if we're being honest with ourselves here, dude, these people are neocons. The Biden administration, yeah, they have a nice mask on. They're still neocons at the end of the day. These people are still beholden to corporations. They're still serving the military industrial complex. They're not interested in actual, long-term peace. Now, you could argue that, okay, since they kind of, they're the architects, they orchestrated the Iran deal, that maybe they have some kind of attachment to it, and that's why they wanted to succeed. They want Iran to join. But they're not saying that. They want to renegotiate the deal. So this is a completely different dynamic here. And of course, Iran is not going to accept that. Iran did nothing wrong. They've been following the fucking deal. The United States is the one that pulled out. And so the United States a few days ago said, okay, we're ready to talk. But Iran said, look, we're not going to get into talks unless you lift the sanctions. We want you to lift sanctions, which is reasonable because, the United States is the one that pulled out of the deal. Iran, under the deal, has the right to go past the JCPOA limits as a response to that. That's within the framework, Article 36, 37, if I recall well, in the JCPOA. That's within the framework. It's not disobeying the deal or, deviating from the deal. It says that you can do that. And so the United States to come along and say like, oh, we want Iran to take the first step. No, you have to take the first step and get back into the deal. End of story. There's nothing to negotiate here. You're already past that. And it's astonishing because these are the same people who wrote the thing. Again, I'm reminding you, right? All these people were there. This is under the Obama administration. So this is once again an area where you see how they have looked at what Trump has done and they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's just run with it. Let's just go with it. Let's take more than what we originally even had. Let's just keep on going with Trump's policies. And no one seems to fucking see that. It's unbelievable. So, and once again, it goes without saying, this is also tremendously beneficial to Israel because Israel, since the beginning, wants to, cut Iran's wings. If you think that this is just about nukes, you are sorely mistaken, right? If you go and look at Egypt, for example, in the Cold War, Egypt was also developing its own ballistic missile program. Ballistic missiles, like rockets, not nukes. And so, the Israelis, the Mossad, they went and they started assassinating all of the German scientists And I mean, I'm not going to cry either because most of them were Nazis. So, no loss there. But, my point is that the Israelis took it seriously, right? And that's nothing to do with nukes. These were just regular ballistic missiles. And nonetheless, they took it extremely seriously. So you can also imagine that right now they also don't want Iran to have ballistic missiles either. And that's why the United States is trying to push this policy, right? That's why Israel has never supported the Iran nuclear deal, because it doesn't go far enough in their view. So, this airstrike right now in Syria, I mean, what kind of, how does that play into the developments with the Iran nuclear deal? You tell me, man. You tell me. I have the feeling, and I don't think it's far-fetched to assume this, but I have the feeling, again, this is just my opinion, that, Israel had some significant role to play in that. And that's not far-fetched, because Israel and the United States have partnered before to attack Iran with the Stuxnet virus, for example, and sabotage their nuclear centrifuges. So, I mean, they regularly work together. That's not a secret. It's a fact. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of maybe got Biden to do this. Who knows, man? It's just like, for example, every time you see some kind of peace about to happen between Israel and the Palestinians, then all of a sudden Israel will be like, oh no, we can't negotiate anymore because of this bombing that happened, or this particular event that took place. And it's like at the slightest thing that they don't like, they just abandon all kind of diplomatic endeavors. But again, I don't know. I don't know how it fits in 100%. I'm just kind of rambling right now. It's okay. To me, I think we should not lose focus of the fact that this was an act of war. This is an act of aggression. The United States has no fucking business telling Syria what to do, or Iraq what to do, or Iran what to do. These are independent sovereign countries on the other side of the planet, literally. The United States has not one fucking iota of business there, okay? They have no business there. If Syria wants to put troops in Iran, with, of course, the agreement of the Iranian people and the Iranian government, or vice versa, or they want to trade, they want to trade pieces of, foam or eggs, I don't know, whatever. They want to engage in any sort of, mutual agreement and cooperation. That's their fucking business. Okay, just like the United States engages in trade with the UK or with Canada or with whoever else, that's their fucking business. Okay, you can't just go and bomb another country because you don't like their fucking allies' bases and or whatever. That's not an excuse. And you're not going to see any of the other progressives make this case because they're too scared of appearing like they're being sympathetic towards Iran. You know why? Because they actually believe this fucking imperialist bullshit. They're actually fucking brainwashed. They really think that, yeah, Iran is actually really evil at the end of the day, and the United States is still the good guys. Like, if we maybe get, they don't like what Joe Biden's doing, but we're still the good guys. They're totally fucking brainwashed. And you really see that by the lack of their, by this partial coverage that they do, right? They won't actually delve into the fundamental atrocity that is being committed here. It's a violation of international law. It's a violation of the sovereignty of these countries, of their human rights. They won't touch that, right? Very telling. Pay attention to that. It's true. They do this all the time. So there you go. I went off on quite a tangent there. All right, just give me 1 second, guys. I think we got over here. Let me pull up Rockfin for you. Right, let me pull up Rockfin for you. So, I hope you can see Rockfin. We got a super chat over here from Anna. Anna says, oh no, you got me. I fell into the trap. This is a marry, fuck, kill. With Andrew Cuomo, Schumer, and Pelosi. If you could take a one imperialist entity, what would it be? Could be government, private entity. Damn. That's a horrendous marry, fuck, kill, though. I hate. You guys are making these worse and worse. Okay, so obviously, I think we're gonna have to we're gonna have to let Andrew sleep with the. We're gonna have to let Cuomo sleep with the fishes. Okay, and I think I'm gonna have to. I think we're gonna have to. Oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this. Oh God, we're gonna have to tie the knot with Pelosi. You know why? Because I wanna taste that ice cream, and I'm assuming the only way to get into her house and taste that designer ice cream. Come on, guys, please. Just a little bite. One bite. It doesn't make me a capitalist. The only way to get into her house and see what's in those $11,000 fridges, the dual fridges, is probably to marry her. So I think it's worth it just for the food. Not that I endorse her lifestyle. Well, I guess, we're going to have to do a little Dude and I with Schumer. Oh, God, that's horrendous. Oh, God, these are really bad. These are really bad. Remember, according to Chuck Schumer, the real reason Donald Trump was impeached a second time is because he incited the erection. Never forget. So there you go. And if you could take a one imperialist entity, the United Kingdom, is that good enough for you? Is that good enough? When I say the United Kingdom, it's kind of like the United States by extension in a way, because, it's the UK's demon spawn, right? Trey says every bomb dropped, every sanction placed, and every coup attempted, Biden comes. Yes, you know it. They're creaming their pants right now, these bastards. Love you, Richard. Keep speaking truth. I love you, Trey. I really appreciate it very much. And great analogy right there. Very, very, very well put. We got another tip from Yoni. I really appreciate that as well. And I thank you guys very much for all of your donations. You've been very kind to me. You've been very generous. So, this is a shitstorm what's happening right now. This is really just I cannot. I barely slept, man. I just want to watch a movie. And then I come on and I see this bullshit. These assholes are still bombing us. They won't leave us alone. They just won't leave us alone, man. Like, people don't understand how bad the situation is in Syria. 11, almost 10 years of war now, right? Next year, it'll be 10 years of war. Well, what am I saying? It is 10 years of war. We're in 2021. Almost 10 years now. What the fuck? Why are we going through that? Like, who said we deserve that? And this is just Syria. Look at Iraq. Jesus Christ. Look at Libya. Look at Afghanistan, 20 years. Who said this is normal, that these countries have to constantly be fucked up? That's not normal. That's not okay, right? And every single administration just picks up where the last one left. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. These people are scum of the highest order. They're evil, crooked agents of capitalism, of imperialism. They're scum. They're scum. They're criminals. The shit that they do, they used to, the Americans, the British, the Russians, the French, they used to hang people at Nuremberg for this kind of shit. Although, of course, I don't think that we've seen anything as mechanized as what the Nazis did just yet. But if you look at the last century, you could say that just for the CIA alone, you look at what the CIA has done, all these coups, all of the regime change, all of these clandestine operations. They've also killed millions, right? Covertly, and it's all evil. It's all evil, and they get away with it, and they've made you believe that they're somehow morally superior, right? When they bomb other countries, it's we're defending ourselves, we're de-escalating. This is diplomacy. What the fuck? How do people swallow this? Not you guys, them. I mean, I'm really glad we have a lot of people watching right now. This is great. We got 600 people watching, so make sure that you hit the like button. Again, it helps a lot with the algorithms, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for that. I'm just really angered, man, and no one is going to condemn this. They're not going to condemn anything that Biden does, right? I mean, they're already rehabilitating his behavior in terms of the cages, which we covered 2 days ago. Right now, these office containers with bars on the windows that very much look like jail cells on the inside. No. Those are not cages. They're migrant overflow facilities. Why are you running cover for him? AOC, why are you running cover for him? In the Washington Post? You were not doing this with Trump. You were not doing this. You were not being, mild in your critiques. You were being scathing. You were quite explicit. I'm not seeing any of that. So why would, if they're not doing that for your checks, if they're not attacking Biden or criticizing him, rather, not just attacking him for no reason, but if they're not holding Biden accountable for your stimulus checks, for a $15 minimum wage, for healthcare, for a Green New Deal, for the environment, if they're not doing that, you think they give a shit about Syrians? You think they give a shit about imperialism? They don't care. They never cared. Even under Trump, they didn't care. Why would they care now under Biden? Why would they care now under Biden? It's horrendous, man. It's horrendous. So we got another super chat here from Florin. Florin, thank you very much. Says, if I could just take off my shoes and throw them at Joe Biden, I would be able to die in peace. Amen. Amen, man. He deserves a couple of shoes to say the very least. That motherfucker. He deserves a couple of shoes. So guys, with that said, I implore you to donate if you can spare, of course. You know, these are hard times, so only if you can support independent media, it goes a long way. This is how we combat disinformation. Russia. This is how we combat disinformation. We uphold, we build up independent media. So if you can please donate on Venmo or Cash App or PayPal, that would be greatly appreciated. And you can scan it with your phone. And of course, I highly recommend that you join Rockfin because it's free and all your other favorite channels are on there. And if you subscribe for $10 a month, you get everyone's premium. So once again, they call it Netflix for politics in a way. That's pretty dope, right? I think it's a pretty good analogy. So rockfin.com/RichardMedhurst. And you support everyone. It's not just like one channel. You're supporting everyone by subscribing. I think that's awesome. So yeah, and other than that, we also have a Patreon. I don't think I've plugged the Patreon, but when you join, I'll play a crab dance, right? I don't think we've had anyone join tonight, but I'm more than ready to have a crab dance. And same thing if you join up on Rockfin. By the way, we have a Venmo over here from Aiden. Aiden says, America is Israel's bitch. Very true. They in Saudi Arabia write our foreign policy. YouTube won't let me give you super chats. All right, well, you know what? That's no problem. I'm glad that it worked on Venmo because YouTube takes 30% cut. Again, I'm not complaining. I'm grateful for everything and all your support nonetheless, but perhaps for the better. And just going back to what you said, yeah, I think Aiden put it very succinctly, right? That's pretty much it, everything you just said. You have Israel and Saudi Arabia basically dictating the United States foreign policy. I'd say, some people would argue that Saudi Arabia is just a client state of the U.S. Yeah, definitely you can make that point. But there is a certain special relationship, let's put it that way. And particularly in the case of Israel and the United States, yeah, I mean, one and the same, right? I can't remember who made this joke, but it was something like along the lines of Mike Pompeo is the best foreign minister that Israel has ever had. I agree. He is one of the best. So there we go, guys. Anyway, I wanted to cover more segments with you, but again, hopefully it's not the last live unless the CIA gets me. But this is just upsetting, man. I at first I was like, I'm not going to go live. I don't want to talk about this. It's upsetting. And then I kept thinking about it. I was like, I'm just angry as hell. There's so much to say. It's so vomit inducing because, as I mentioned, a lot of the people that are going to cover it, if they cover it, right, most of them are not even going to question the reasoning that is being given by the United States. Like they acknowledge that, yeah, it's wrong to bomb other countries, but they're not going to debunk the bullshit given by the State Department or by the Pentagon, rather in this case, right, from Kirby, saying that, it's because of Iranian-backed militias. Motherfucker, so what if Iran has militias inside of Syria? Like, that's Iran and Syria's business. Whether it's a good or a bad thing, it's their business, right? Just like it's, for example, if you have a fucking bases in Canada or, the UK or Germany, that's between you and Germany, right? Like, that's your business. It's not an excuse to go and bomb other countries because you don't like, who are no less on the other side of the fucking planet, because you don't like, it's not a question of they don't like them. This is not like some kind of, I don't like your attire. No, this is because of imperialism, right? They want to maintain their control over Iraq. They want to act as a buffer between Syria and Iran to kind of drive a wedge between them. They want to maintain an axis of influence from Afghanistan all the way to Israel. And of course, now it's going even further, Northern Africa. They've decimated Libya, and it's horrendous, right? And they've got Egypt by the balls with aid. If I'm not mistaken, Egypt is the second largest recipient of aid from the U.S. It's not an accident. it's very good. It's very good for the United States to have Arab countries dependent on. Remember, Egypt has a lot of mouths to feed. They got 75 million people, 80 million people. So the most populated. It has the largest population of any Arab country. So it's a good thing. It's a nefarious thing, but for the United States, it's a good thing to have countries dependent on them for aid, right? It's just like with the IMF and the World Bank. They hold it over your head, right? It sounds nice on the surface, but it's not. It's like, loan sharks. It's just predatory. That's what it is. It's just another way to control these countries, unfortunately. And it's heartbreaking, of course, because, Egypt is an amazing country with extraordinary history and extraordinary people, extraordinary culture, and they should not be taken advantage of by anyone, right? And by the way, fun fact, here's a cool fun fact. In 1958, Syria and Egypt, they formed one country. Fucking dope, right? That's awesome, right? I think that's amazing. Not the first time, but at least in modern history, yeah. Because if I recall correctly, Saladin. So for those of you who are good with medieval history, Saladin. He fought the Crusaders, or Salah ad-Din in Arabic is a very famous warrior and commander. I showed you a statue. He's a statue in Damascus. He's buried in Damascus. He has a mausoleum at the Umayyad Mosque. And he united Egypt and Syria together, right? So we have a lot of shared history. It's cool. Anyway, I go off on a tangent, but it's good. It's good. So with that said, we have a little super chat over here from Ronaldo. Says, why are the people gullible? What makes them gullible? By watching shows by NCIS? Man, I mean, the problem is the media in large part. I mean, I don't think people are born stupid or dumb or mean or evil. No, people are mostly good. People are good intentioned. They don't like war. They don't want to see other people suffer, right? But the media is a tool of the establishment, of the politicians. That's how they convince you to hate people that you don't even know, that you've never even met. And this is not something just to do with the United States or with what's happening now. This is something that goes back hundreds of years, right? I mean, you can, most wars, unfortunately, it's there. People don't want to go and fight them. They're forced to. It's horrendous, right? And I can just give you an example, like World War I. You had 15-year-old boys in the United Kingdom who would go and enlist. Why? Because patriotism. Like they were brainwashed into thinking that going off and being shot at in a fucking trench in Belgium, like my great-grandfather was, is some kind of virtuous act. Yeah, but what for? Why did all these people fucking die? What was the point of that? What, so some fucking empire, some rich assholes can just, battle over territory? Look how many millions of people fucking died. And same thing in World War II, right? All of these atrocities. It's just... So they need the media. They need the media to make sure that people are brainwashed enough and hate, and they have this hatred in them and this fear in order to go and send them off to die for corporations or kings, insert whatever ruling class you want. The relationship remains the same, right? It's tragic. It really is. Mehdi in the chat says, Uncle Sam needs you, remember? Yeah. By the way, you know where that poster comes from originally? It's a British one. God, I forgot his fucking name. Shame on me. Oh, God, what was his goddamn name? Hold on, I'll show it to you. But it's also from World War I, right? Oh, I'll show it to you. I think it's a recruitment poster from the UK. What was his goddamn name? The guy on the poster. Because you guys know Uncle Sam, right? But it's taken from... I can't remember. There's the one. There we go. Lord Kitchener. There we go. Lord Kitchener. You see this one over here? Yeah. This is the original one. This is where Uncle Sam they got the inspiration for the Uncle Sam poster. Britons. Lord Kitchener wants you. Join your country's army. God save the king. You see, this kind of bullshit, man. And they get young kids to go off and kill other young kids. For what? For what? For what? Horrible. You know, it's absolutely incredible how not only these people are able to exploit and crap all over, you know, the workers in their own country, but they're able to make workers go and kill other workers from another country that they've never even met and don't even know why they hate, right? How they pit the working class against each other in these wars. It's truly diabolical, honestly. Anyway, I'm going off on a few tangents here, but I think it's important to talk about this stuff and to see it from a different perspective, right? Because, Liberty Lover, thank you for the super chat, says they locked him into a war crime early, just like they did with Trump in 2017. Biden is now completely theirs. Well, that's true. That's true. But to be fair, Joe Biden's always been a war criminal. And I mean, for me, and I'm being honest here, right? I'm telling you this as a Syrian myself. Even with today, even with Biden stealing the oil, even with the Caesar Act sanctions, I mean, that's so much suffering. And I still think that Iraq got it worse. And it's connected because of the Iraq war, you ended up having this power vacuum. You ended up having ISIS. ISIS ended up, spilling over into Syria. And now, it's all connected, of course. But I really again, it's not a competition, but I just feel like even despite all this, the Iraq war, and my point going back to Joe Biden is that he helped start that war. He was Bush's man, essentially, in the Democratic Party. He was head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he made the case for that war, right? And he blocked really important testimony from people who were not convinced, not rather unconvinced. They were certain that there were no weapons of mass destruction. They knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. And Joe Biden is the person who got to pick the witnesses that testified. And guess who he picked? He mostly picked people that were pro-war, or rather giving arguments that would lead to a decision to go to war, and which was still illegal nonetheless. But, so, I mean, my point is he's always been a war criminal. But yeah, he didn't waste any time. I think we're both in agreement on that. He didn't waste any time in going for it, right? Again, man, you see this, right? Does art imitate life? Or does life imitate art? Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition death cult. I told you, man. I told you this would happen. Now, all these commentators who said that Joe Biden is the lesser of two evils, go put on your fucking dunce hats. Okay, go put on your clown makeup. Go on. Zoworldo says reforming does not work. Look at what happened with the USSR. Well, a lot of things happened with the USSR, but yeah, I mean, I understand your point. If we want to talk about, again, this is the age-old question with socialists, right? Do we reform or do we revolt? And now, cue the endless, incessant arguments, right? This is the big debate between socialists. Do we reform or do we revolt? And this is the difference between someone like Bernie Sanders, right, who is a reformist, essentially. He would say I'm a socialist. He's not really a socialist. He's a social democrat. And again, even if Bernie Sanders got all of his policies implemented, it's still a capitalist system. Like you could still mitigate a lot of the inequality of wealth. Maybe that's wishful thinking. But my point is, even if you had done that, you would still have the same system. You would still have a bunch of oligarchs running the fucking country. Like, it doesn't really solve anything at the end of the day, does it? Because there's going to come a point in time where they're going to reamass and reaccumulate all of the same wealth. And they might even implement harsher and stronger and broader and more expansive mechanisms that oppress the working class, right? So, I mean, think of how evil these people are. They don't give a shit. I mean, they literally start wars to make money. They are completely void of any conscience whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, don't underestimate what the ruling class will do to stay in power, right? Again, going back to what you said, that's I think Bernie Sanders. Let's just leave it here. I think Bernie Sanders, at the very least, showed that reform does not work within the Democratic Party. And of course, if you really look at the situation honestly and objectively, it's not just a Democratic Party. It's one party. It's a one-party system. It's run by corporations, man. It's run by a tiny fraction of the human race who are, who've amassed just amounts of wealth that your brain cannot even fathom, that you can't even visualize. I mean, when we talk, for example, Jeff Bezos, right? For example, just as an example, how rich is this guy? 150 billion? What the fuck is 150 billion? I can't even picture what you do with that. Like, what is that? What is that? Anyway, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you a lot. Liberty Lover, thank you for the super chat. There's no note attached, but I'm very, very appreciative of your support. Policy Politics says, I'm also doing videos about end wars, free Assange. Richard, you are doing a valuable, admirable job. Thank you. No, sorry. TYT will defend Biden tomorrow. Mark my words. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. By the way, you know what? Let's do a segment right now. I love the impromptu segment. Speaking of TYT, because I found this the other day, and it really, wow, the cringe. So let me just find it for you. It's that bad, okay? Hold on. Let me just make sure I got the right clip. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So, Christ, are you ready for the cringe? I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's long. It's 39 minutes. But basically, I was scouring YouTube and I came across a clip from TYT. This is back in 2014 during the invasion of Gaza by Israel. So you remember they invaded Gaza from July 7th until August 26th, I think. Those are the exact dates. So 7 weeks essentially. And this was horrific, right? You had around 2,252 casualties on the Palestinian side. 65% of them were civilians. 25% were children killed. You had 1,000 children left with permanent disabilities. The Israelis, they sustained 67 casualties that were all soldiers and 6 civilian casualties. One of them was not even Israeli. He was from Thailand, I think. So, 67 plus 6, that's 73. So you have an 8% civilian casualty rate, 8% on the Israeli side. And on the Palestinian side, 65%. 8%, 65%. Now, you can look at those figures and you tell me which one is on purpose, which one is deliberate, and which one is accidental or collateral. Not that collateral is in any way exactly acceptable or nice, but my point here is that you always hear that, the Palestinians, they use human shields, they target civilian, they target Israeli civilians. Really? The statistics don't say that. You were targeting civilians. The UN report, it made me want to puke. I couldn't. You read one page. Again, the report is hundreds of pages long. You read one page, and there are so many casualties you cannot keep up. It's like a family's having dinner, and then all of a sudden the ground just swallows them up, and the guy wakes up in hospital, and they tell him his wife has died, his kids have died, all his relatives that were in the second floor have died. It's just horrific. And the United Nations, everyone knows, not just the United Nations, but they declared that Israel was deliberately targeting residential buildings. Most people who died in that 7-week war were either near their homes or in their homes. Okay? So this was Operation Protective Edge. Now, all of this to say that I came across TYT's coverage of this. And for some reason, they've called it Battlefield Gaza. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the Battlefield series. Okay, I've been playing that series since I was a kid, but this is kind of cringe. Like, it's not a video game. It's really not a video game. Could you imagine? Could you imagine in any other context? Just no. Anyway, that's not the point here. I just want to play a bit of the. I just want to analyze this. And again, I know this is old, but nonetheless, it's still relevant because the ICC. As you know, just a few weeks ago, says it wants to investigate these war crimes. So it's very relevant.
72-hour ceasefire. Now, both sides swear up and down that the other side broke the ceasefire. But it looks like there was the people coming out of the tunnels an hour after the ceasefire was declared. If in fact it was Hamas, as we suspect based on the evidence that we read here, just ridiculous. You've got 72 hours to clean up the dead. Are you insane? What are you breaking a ceasefire for? You're the one getting mauled out there, but this goes to the point that a lot of Israeli supporters make, which is, well, they don't mind those images on the screens, so they're not going to listen to a ceasefire so that there are more of those images on the screens. And so there's significant culpability here for Hamas in this instance to break what would have been a great ceasefire for 72 hours that allowed people to find their homes, their belongings, their family members, etc. Now, on the other hand, I've seen the captured soldier being portrayed as like, oh my God, you see how violent and terrorist Hamas is? Well, they're in the middle of a war. They've killed 63 Israeli soldiers, and the Israelis have killed hundreds of Palestinian fighters. That's kind of what happens in war. So I feel terrible for him. He's a 23-year-old. He's got a baby at home. I mean, it's terrifying, but that he's a soldier.
Well, Jake, I agree with everything you've said so far.
Okay, what the fuck? I love how he's like making the case that the argument that the Israelis use, like, look, man, these Palestinians, they just don't know when to fucking quit. Let's go and kill more of them. Maybe then they'll learn their fucking lesson. Holy shit. Listen to your fucking self. What are you saying? Could you imagine the same kind of like logic in any other situation? Let's try another analogy. For example, this is like, you know, could you imagine the cops in the U.S. going, man, you know, these black people, they just won't accept our police brutality. Maybe if we keep on brutalizing more black people and we keep on showing images of black people being brutalized, then they'll stop harassing cops. What the fuck? Do you realize how fucked up you sound? You're saying that Palestinians have to just accept being occupied and bombed and brutalized until they learn their lesson? What kind of a fucking argument is that? This is an asymmetrical warfare we're talking about. Israel has an air force. Israel has fucking nukes. Israel receives billions of dollars of military aid every year from the United States. What the fuck do Palestinians have? Rocks? Some homemade rockets? Get the hell out of here. And you realize how he says, oh, the Israelis have soldiers, Palestinians have fighters, right? Like, well, it's true in one sense. You know, the Israelis have a conventional armed forces. It's true, right? And that's why it's very asymmetrical. But he says fighters, like, oh, these are just, you know, they're a bunch of militants. He's never going to use the reality of it. He's never going to talk about the fact that they're resisting an occupation, right? For example, if you talk about the French resistance in World War II, you know, you talk about it as a resistance. There's a clear relationship. You have the occupiers, the Nazis occupying France, and you have the French resisting the occupation. They're never going to talk about it as an occupation because then it delegitimizes the state of Israel. We can't have that, can we? Right? And you see how they try to compare it like it's an even playing field. It's not an even fucking playing field. Okay? It's not a level playing field. That is the whole point of the fucking occupation that no one wants to address. That's how they sugarcoat it. That's how they make people think that, oh yeah, it's equal, right? These are just two factions, two parties, two sides, two adversaries battling it out. No, it's not. It's a fucking military occupation, and a very brutal one at that. And then at the very end, oh man, look, he's got a baby at home. And by the way, he got it wrong. It turns out he has a fiance, not a baby. Like Cenk is so desperate to defend some random fucking IDF soldier who's occupying Palestinians and murdering Palestinians. You know, 65% of those casualties were Palestinians. That he literally doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, oh no, he has a baby. Oh no, it's a fiance. It's something. Just feel empathy for the occupier. Feel empathy for him. Look, he is a human being. Wow, amazing. I love it when you rehabilitate war criminals and illegal settlers and occupiers. Good job. Very progressive of you. Very fucking progressive of you.
That they would have gotten on better terms, where the tunnels weren't going to be allowed to still be destroyed. So they obviously were degraded to the point where they had to agree to something that they didn't want to agree to in the first place. So that's one point. And it sounds like even Obama said today that Hamas did break the ceasefire. So that's two things.
I can't remember where we stopped just now. I think it was here, yeah.
Anyone can say, well, you guys never believe the government, so why do you believe the government now? But I think for every story that we ever do, occasionally you got to pick something to believe, right? I mean, yes, I think the government lies all the time, but you got to, there's some, we got
72-hour ceasefire.
That's amazing. Do you see that? Yes, we can't trust the government. The government are liars. But when it comes to Israel, now I believe them. Amazing. Amazing how that works, right? The government are liars. You can't trust the government. But when the U.S. government says that Israel is not the one who broke the ceasefire, it's the Palestinians' fault, now I believe them. We got to pick something to believe. Come on. Better it be for Israel. Holy shit. These people are fucking unbelievable. By the way, do you notice Jimmy Dore in the background? He's just like, what the fuck am I doing here? Look at Jimmy's face. And I seriously, I relate to him so hard. Look at his face. He just can't believe that these morons next to him are spouting all this nonsense. Oh, I feel your pain, Jimmy. I really do.
This is 60 or something like that. Well, you want to agree to in the first place. There's some, we got a lot of paper here, and sometimes you got to believe something. So, yes, it's really shitty. I don't feel any worse for the soldier or his family than anyone else that's died on the other side. But I do agree with the original point you made about what the Israeli narrative is, which is, what can they do? What can they do? They are in war. So when we show numbers, whatever it was, 1,600 versus 60 or something like that, well, in the last 8 years, they've invested in the Iron Dome, which has saved their people. And not only has the Iron Dome saved their people, the Iron Dome has actually saved Palestinians. Because think about it, if the Iron Dome wasn't there and these rockets were all landing, well, if you think Israel's response is harsh now, well, just imagine how much harsher it would be if these rockets were landing. So the Iron Dome has saved lives on both sides. I think that we can say that.
Holy shit. Did you hear what he just said? What is wrong with you? Holy shit. He's saying Palestinians should be thankful that Israel is illegally occupying them because the Israelis have put up a state-of-the-art missile defense system that can shoot down Palestinian rockets that may have potentially fallen on them. Wow. So by your logic, maybe the French, particularly ones who lived in Normandy, right? Or actually, I mean, anywhere on coastal mainland Europe, they should have thanked the Germans. They should thank the Nazis for putting up the Atlantic Wall to save them, from the Allied invasion or Allied, cannons on their ships during D-Day or whatever. They should thank them for all of these various 88 millimeter flak cannons shooting down all of these B-17s, right? Or these Lancaster bombers coming to bomb the Nazis because some of those bombs might have fallen on them. Yeah, wow, that's sound logic. Every person living under occupation should thank their occupiers for defending them from people trying to liberate them. What the fuck? Holy shit. Holy shit. I mean, how these people just casually advocate for ethnic cleansing and military occupation, it's fucking unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Empirically, there are tunnels literally being dug. I mean, think about the distances that we're talking about. This whole country is the size of New Jersey. So imagine if from where you live to this studio, which is not that far, 6-7 miles, people were digging tunnels. Now again, we can go to the who was right, who was there first, all of that. But what would any democratic nation do? What would any society, what their job is to protect their civilians. And as Jimmy and I were talking about before, this may not, in the long term, maybe this won't be good for Israel because maybe they're breeding many more Hamas-like people. So I think that's a legitimate argument.
Yeah, man. Israel is a total democracy, right? Just ignore all the apartheid stuff and, the different laws for Palestinians and the illegal occupation of the West Bank and, the illegal occupation of Gaza Strip, the siege, the illegal occupation of the Syrian Golan Heights, the illegal occupation of East Jerusalem. Just ignore all that. They're a total democracy, of course, Yeah, of course. Palestinians are treated equally. Wow, yeah. And by the way, even if everything I said were not true, even if Israel was like the quintessential democracy in his fantasy land, Apparently, for him, that gives them the right to just disproportionately murder Palestinian civilians. He's telling you that he's seen the figures that I just cited to you, right? So this is before the war was ended. This is August 2nd, so a few weeks before it was over. 65% of the casualties were civilians, and you can already see from the figures, which he talked about, right? They doubled by the time the war was over. And he's still making this argument. Look, Israel is a democracy, so, you know, if most of the people they kill are civilians, it's okay, because any democracy would do that. No, the fuck they would not. Okay? That's not defending yourself. When 65% of the people being killed are civilians, that is not defending yourself. That's a fucking bloodbath. That's a massacre. Those are war crimes. Do you understand that? And that's why the International Criminal Court is going to investigate them, because they're fucking war crimes. Do you understand that? When you're targeting residential buildings on purpose, those are war crimes. I don't care if you're a fucking democracy or, you know, a constitutional monarchy or a totalitarian fuck festival. You are targeting civilians. That's not defending yourself. That's a bloodbath. That's a massacre. You fucking piece of shit. What is Zionist cuck? That's what Dave Rubin is. He is a Zionist cuck. He's a cuck eunuch for the Zionist occupation.
Argument.
I think if there were tunnels, right, we'd start bombing schools. I think that's what you do.
Well, no, but what would you...
God, why? This is why I love Jimmy. You see, yeah, Palestinians dig tunnels, let's bomb schools. Yeah, of course, that's the rational response. Any democracy would do that, right? Oh, God. It's like talking to a wall with these people, right? I don't know how Jimmy tolerated that for 40 minutes. The video is like 39 minutes long. Christ almighty. You know, it's frankly unbelievable, right? And I think the way they rationalize this to themselves is deep down, they really believe that, you know, like Palestinians are lesser beings, right? Because he's just openly saying, like, yeah, all of these, I recognize the facts. I see that Palestinians are being disproportionately killed. And nonetheless, I still think it's okay. How could you rationalize that? Only someone who thinks that Palestinians are not equal human beings could rationalize that and accept that. I mean, this is fundamentally evil. Fundamentally evil. Fucking nuts, man. Truly. And, you know, speaking of schools, there's one instance, the Israelis, they bombed a UN school that was being, a school that was being used as a shelter by the UN, right? So they had 200 children wounded, 15 children killed. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine like a school in the United States, for example, being bombed by another country? You have 200 children wounded, 15 children killed. Can you imagine that in the United States? Would you accept that? That was one instance during that 7-week period alone. Okay? There were other schools also bombed, other UN installations bombed. The United Nations, 118 United Nations installations were bombed. They're deliberately targeting journalists, targeting medics. That's not me saying this. This is the United Nations saying this. Is all the relief organizations on the ground saying this. Is all documented. You can't change that. It's not defense. It's a massacre, right? Unbelievable. This is shameful. It's really disgusting. So that's all I watched from this video because I'm going to vomit if I watch anymore. So I just wanted to. Again, I was just bringing this up again because, as I said, the ICC, they've extended their jurisdiction to the Palestinian territories. And, you know, the way that the Rome Statute works, the Rome Statute is the treaty that formed the International Criminal Court. The way it works is that even if the aggressor, so in this case Israel, is not a party to the Rome Statute, remember they signed it and then pulled out. They thought they were being smart because they thought, oh, Palestine is not a state. They'll never get into the Rome Statute. Well, it turns out that backfired because even if the aggressor is not a party to the Rome Statute, if the victim is, the ICC has jurisdiction, right? So, for example, in the case of Afghanistan, you saw last year Donald Trump and his scumbag administration with Pompeo, they sanctioned the chief prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, and the head of the jurisdiction, Ficasso Mochochoco. And they are not allowed to travel to the United States. They've been placed under sanctions. You know, they basically restricted their movement to prevent them from investigating war crimes committed by the United States in Afghanistan. Even though the United States is not a party to the Rome Statute, unsurprisingly, but Afghanistan is. And since Afghanistan is the victim in this case, ICC has jurisdiction. right? So that's why Israel is up in arms, because they thought, well, if we get out of the Rome Statute, then the ICC can't investigate us because Palestine is technically not a state recognized by the UN, and that way we'll never be held accountable. We can escape accountability for war crimes, crimes of aggression, crimes against humanity, and genocide, because those are the four main crimes that the ICC covers. And so, the ICC just decided that, their jurisdiction does extend to Palestine, to the occupied territories. And, you have three criteria to open an investigation. It's basically one that the ICC basically, this would be good for justice, that the evidence holds up, that you can actually build a solid case for it. And if my memory serves me correctly, it's the jurisdiction issue. It's universally recognized. There's a universal consensus that Operation Protective Edge, this is 2014, was a massacre. And if you go look at Operation Cast Lead in 2009, also a massacre. And it's horrendous. And this is not even counting the 70 years of occupation since 1948 of Palestine. I mean, you have 1 million people, registered. 1 million people in Israel registered as refugees, right? Since 1948. Hold on, the total population, I think, of Arab Palestinians, 1.8 million. So you'll have to forgive me because it's quite late. But I'm just not remembering where they're registered as this 1 million. Because my point is that they're still registered as refugees from 1948. So you know what that means? They're basically third, fourth generation Palestinians who are refugees on their own land. I mean, this is insane, right? This is crazy. This is nuts. And this is not to mention the fact that you have millions of Palestinians that are no longer in Palestine, right? You have millions in Syria, millions in Jordan, millions outside the Middle East as well, that were expelled, that were kicked out of their homes. And, this has been going on for 70 years now. And so earlier when Dave Rubin is saying, oh, this is not about who was here first and who was... Dude, there are people still alive who were kicked out of their homes in 1948. They still have the fucking keys to their houses. What the fuck? Like, would you accept if I kicked you out of your fucking house? You would lose your shit if someone did that to you. You would, I mean, this motherfucker would never shut up. No one should. So why do you accept it for Palestinians? Weird. Anyway, I just wanted to go over that. And I think I'll end it on Jimmy's note, right? So there we go. We got a couple of super chats over here. Thank you very, very much to Edward. Edward says Sleepy Joe and Criminal Harris instead of Kamala Harris. Believe bombing Syria ensures there's electricity in Texas, clean water in Flint, and no homelessness in San Francisco. So if I recall correctly, again, I've never been, unfortunately, I've never been to San Francisco, but it has the highest rent in the world, at least in the United States. I'm pretty sure it's the highest rent in the Bay Area, if not in the world. And, California in general, but particularly, as you mentioned, Los Angeles, San Francisco, they have a huge homelessness crisis, right? I mean, you have scores of people, right? We're talking tens of thousands of people that are just like out on the street. And this is in the richest nation on earth. And this country has money to come and bomb Syria and, continue bombing Iraq under the guise of fighting Daesh and operating 800 military bases across the world and numerous aircraft carriers. And, how do you justify that when your own people are on the street? How can you justify that, right? You can't. And I always point out the irony here that, for example, Joe Biden is continuing to steal the oil in Syria, just as Trump was doing. They stole all the oil in Iraq, right? This is funny. Well, I say funny sarcastically, but before the war, they were justifying the invasion by saying it would pay for itself. Yeah, we'll invade Iraq, we'll take control of the oil, we'll give it back to the Iraqis, and then the Iraqis will be able to pay for their own reconstruction, right? So it's a little variant off of near attendance, right? And of course, that turned out to be a lie, right? So the forecast for oil production in Iraq never, got to the levels that they had hoped for in the first couple of years following the invasion. And again, it feels so dirty saying that, like they had hoped for, as if it's their fucking oil. Like, go and mind your fucking business. It's not for you to forecast shit in Iraq and decide what happens with the oil. I find this so ridiculous to even talk in these kinds of this kind of in the confines of such a conversation. But anyway, this is what they were saying, and of course that didn't even happen because you know why? You destroyed the fucking country. Wow, who could have seen that coming? And, then, of course, once things stabilized a bit more, after eons of first the invasion, then you had the, what they call the insurgency. Then you had Al-Qaeda, then you had ISIS. I mean, what the Iraqis have gone through is just horrible. And so my point is, just moving forward, that you have foreign oil companies controlling it, right? Wow, who's surprised? Are you surprised? You have foreign companies controlling the oil. What did you think? The United States is going to go and invade Iraq and then let the Iraqis nationalize their oil? It was already nationalized beforehand, right? At least. I mean, hey, let's not kid ourselves. Iraq has corruption, and it had corruption under Saddam. But at least you can make the case that the goddamn resources are not in the hands of foreign corporations, right? So, this is just absolutely disgusting that these countries like the US, the UK, France, they participate in Australia, they go and invade other countries with huge natural resources. They plunder them, and then their own people back home don't even profit from it. Again, it would still be wrong, but me personally, I would feel a tiny bit less worse if at least the oil that's being stolen was actually giving people fucking healthcare and not going into the pockets of some asshole Kane, who used to be the former ambassador from the US to Denmark under Bush, and he is one of the founders of the company that is stealing oil in Syria, Delta Crescent Energy, right? And then you have this other guy from Delta Force. I think we went through them the other time, right? So it would be a tiny bit less egregious if actual human beings, and regular working class people were able to live instead of being degraded. But that's never the case with imperialism, is it? Right? Of course, those riches are not going to go to you. They're not going to benefit the people back home. The only people back home will benefit are the oligarchs, are the we now in the 21st century the capitalists. But you go back a few centuries, you look out through history, the emperor, the king, the nobility, right? The lords. It's the same relationship in many ways. Dr. Wolf is great at explaining that, by the way. More in a term of macroeconomics, not so much in the context of imperialism, but nonetheless, I think the concept applies. You had a kind of a transition of terms, but it's still the same relationship, right? You had slave and master, then the lord and so a slave and master, then the serf and the lord, and then the employee and employer. The conditions ameliorate slightly, civil liberties a bit more, but at the end of the day, you still have a lot of discrimination. It's still exploitation, and it's still a transfer of wealth, an upward transfer of wealth. And imperialism is just that on a much larger scale. Right. And what's even worse is that they're not just exploiting you, they're sending you off to fucking die. Right. You look at Vietnam, man, the average age of a soldier, again, this is debated. They used to say it's 19. Some people say it's 22, 24. It depends, but it's early 20s, and that's still unacceptable. Sending, drafting kids. And remember, for quite a bit of time, if I recall correctly, 30%, were African Americans. And as you know, the population of the United States, 13% are African Americans. So how is it that you have African Americans representing 13% of the American population, but 30% of troops in Vietnam? Some fishy going on, right? They're drafting people of color. They're using them like cannon fodder, essentially, right? That's the expression, cannon fodder. They're just sending them off to die. And then, you know, the way they remedied that was that they just sent, you know, because people caught on to it, like, hold on, there's a disproportionate amount of blacks, of African Americans being sent off to die in the jungle on the other side of the planet for Uncle Sam. And the way they remedied that is they just started sending more poor white people, you know, like, so it really speaks to not just the racism, but also the class issue, yeah? And again, they're exploiting you by, you know, sending you there to kill people, and you get PTSD, you lose a leg, you know, you come back with mental or physical disabilities or issues, and you get a Purple Heart. But it's okay because, you know, some CEO in the military-industrial complex, he was able to buy a new swimming pool thanks to you. Like, it's horrendous. It's horrendous, right? So, Liberty Lover, thank you for the super chat. It says, at this point, it is irresponsible for Iran or Syria not to go fully nuclear. All the latter is getting you is assassinations, bombings, and sanctions. All North Korea has to worry about are sanctions, which they are beating. Okay, so that's an interesting point. Let me just get a sip of this. No endorsements, so I'm just going to put this up over here. Okay, so let me answer that. I appreciate and understand your sentiment. Dang it, I spilled some. I spilled some on my shirt. You'll have to excuse me, please. But I appreciate and understand your sentiment. The thing is that, you know, I know that if you ask, you know, Israel or the United States or any one of these imperialist powers, you know, they are hell bent on convincing you that, yeah, Iran is pursuing nuclear weapons, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just simply not true. They've been saying this for decades, right? They've been saying this in the 90s. I showed it to you. They've been saying in the 90s, oh my God, Iran is 2 weeks away from building a bomb, 2 months away from building a bomb. Then Colin Powell in 2004 says, oh yeah, they're definitely going after a bomb. You know, Iran always seems to be like just a few weeks away from getting a bomb. Let me tell you something, man. Iran, if they really wanted to get a nuclear bomb, I'm pretty sure they would have already built one. I mean, if you just look at how they're doing under sanctions, right? As you mentioned, North Korea is able to beat them. Iran and Syria, well, Syria is not doing so well as Iran, I would say, in the, you know, given the fact that it's being occupied and there's a war. But, you know, Iran has built a significant ballistic missile program to the point that Israel is scared of it, right? Think about that for a second. Why is the United States asking for a new Iran deal? Because they want to include the ballistic missiles, which Iran built under sanctions. So, I mean, they're clearly capable, right? You know, Iran has more IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, inspections than any other country in history, right? I can assure you, if they were building a nuke, they would have found that shit. So, you know, the point is, they just don't have one, and it goes against their philosophy also, right? This is also a religious, cultural, philosophical reason why they're not pursuing nukes. And again, that's also an entire topic for another time. But, you know, just speaking to your broader point that this would help act as a deterrent, which, yes, I mean, everyone who advocates for nukes says, yes, it's a great deterrent. Well, yeah, I mean, that doesn't exactly help with non-proliferation, does it? I think it would be better if we had less nukes, right? But I get what you're saying. You know, I've made this joke. There's some truth to it. Is that if Iraq really did have WMDs in 2003, the United States would never have invaded them. Yeah, because as you said with North Korea, they seem to, yeah, it seems to act as a deterrent. But, you know, again, I don't think that that's the only way, right? I don't think that it's the only way, and because, you know, if it was the only thing that would stop the Americans, that would stop the Israelis, they'd really just focus on that. But it's not even about that. They really, you know, they really want to crush any sort of defense capabilities that countries have, right? When it comes to Syria, when it comes to Iran. And again, as I said, to the point of their ballistic missiles, they want to crush it completely. And you're never going to it's never going to be enough, right? It's never going to be enough, I think, to just do that. And I don't know, man. I think if you look at how the situation is right now, yes, it's not optimal with sanctions. Obviously, they're still being bullied by the United States and their allies. But it goes to show that you can actually have a deterrent through non-nuclear means. Does that make sense? I hope that sort of makes sense. But I do understand what you're saying at the same time. I definitely understand. I think also Israel accused Iraq and Syria of trying to build a nuke. And, again, this is one of many excuses that they've used to just bomb Syria, right? They'll just go and say, hey, look, we bombed a nuclear facility. This is if they even acknowledge it. But the reason they do this is to kind of assert some kind of moral high ground. Like, look, we care so much about humanity and non-proliferation that we had to stop these bad guys. Look, these Arabs, they can't be trusted, man. You can't have nukes. We had to go and bomb them. Like, we had to. It was an imminent threat. It's all bullshit, man. And, even in the case of the chemical weapons stockpile, you remember in 2013, there was, they said that there was a chemical gas attack in Syria. And then the Syrian government ended up handing over its entire stockpile of chemical weapons to the OPCW, right, no less. And this was overseen and supervised by the international community, right? You had international observers, scientists, they took care of this, the United States, Russia, they were all involved, and they got rid of it. And it's not enough. Like, they still came back and said, oh, look, they're using chemical weapons. And you can't win with them, right? So who knows? Who knows? It's tough, man. So, yes, I also, by the way, I see Anna Jackson saying in the comments that we got 1,000 likes on the video. That's awesome. That's awesome. If you guys have just tuned in, make sure you hit the like button. Really appreciate it. I'm just going to answer also some of the super chats, some of the tips that we got on Rockfin. I thank you guys very much. These are from, this one's, hold on, let me pull it up for you over here. I spilled some water. You'll have to excuse me. It looks horrible. I'm sorry. So, hold on, where are we? Yeah, I just want to read these super chats for you. So, Alvin says, as a Canadian, I'm embarrassed by the fact that the Canadian Parliament unanimously condemned China for genocide of Uyghurs. So, I mean, this is the anti-China rhetoric is really on steroids at the moment, right? You look at the UK banning CGTN, for example. This is what happens when the West feels threatened by another rising power. And again, what I would say regarding this particular issue, I'm not too well versed. However, I would just say that I would exert a lot of caution, because every time the West allege that some country in the global South, or an adversary in terms of economic power, for example, Russia or China, is committing human rights abuses, usually there's an ulterior motive behind that. Regime change, some foreign policy agenda, and again, so I would exert some caution, but I'm not too well versed on it. That's why I'm not going to say anything more. But I'm just saying this because I relate to what happened in Syria, for example, right? They mixed lies with they mix Joe Biden. We choose truth over facts. No, they mix truth with lies, and they just make up shit to bomb Syria. They make up shit to bomb Iraq. So I mean, I don't really expect any truth to come out of the State Department and the FCO. You feel me? But again, I'm not too well versed on this topic. So from what I've seen, it seems like it's another ploy by the State Department and the FCO. And as you're pointing out, the Canadians and of course Western allies are on board. Ross says Dave Rubin, all that money he gets, but he'll still never be able to sew them back on. I mean, he is quite a character, isn't he? He is quite a character. I haven't watched this show much, but that thing that I just showed you on TYT was enough for me to fucking bail. Kayla Farrell Smiths, thank you for the super chat. Says, hold on, let me see if I can say it correctly. Sepkeicha, thank you in Klamath for covering the war criminal machine. My tribe, Klamath Modoc Pawit in Oregon, during the Modoc War of late 1800s, the Modoc war leaders were lynched on the Klamath reservation, and my great-grandma was forced to watch. In 2003, Bush's lawyer, John Yoo, cited the lynching of the Modoc war leaders as legal precedent for the U.S. torture program. Man, I mean, this is... I didn't know that, actually, and I mean, it's horrific. I was incidentally, I was just watching today a bunch of documentaries and reading a bit about the Spanish conquest of America, of the Americas, and then of course the British coming over, also the Russians a bit in Alaska, but just basically the decimation, the genocide of the natives, of the Native American population. It's horrendous, man. It's horrible. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I think about this often. It's like, we talk a lot about domestic politics in the US, right? And what's going on. And it's like, no one ever pauses for 1 second to think of the native population. You know what I mean? Where is their say in this? I mean, where is their representation? Where is, where are their reparations? Where is the justice in whatever form, not just economic, but also, in the repatriation of land, of, compensation for all of these. I mean, I don't think you could ever make up for it, but you know what I'm saying? It's like my point is they're completely excluded and sidelined and left out from all political discourse. It's like they don't even enter the conversation. It's astonishing, right? It's astonishing. And this is their land. It's horrendous, and this is what I'm really grateful for this example that you brought up here, because it's so typical of the Bush administration to do some shit like that. But I didn't know that. That's incredible. Thank you for that. I learned something new. I appreciate that. And Christ, I mean, what the UK, what these countries did to natives is just unbelievable. Anna says, hold on, I'm going to pull this up for you. You can read it. Anna says, who decides when the air conditioning is on or what is being allowed to be pumped out of them? Ever seen pictures of Dachau? Looks super similar. Oh, so I think you're talking about the overflow facilities, as they're saying, right? The woke cages. So, I mean, that's a good question. What do they look like inside? I would like to know. I think I said that the other day. I don't even know if those units probably have AC or not. I don't know. We have no clue. If Biden has nothing to hide, he should show us what conditions the kids are in. Now, compare to Dachau, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I wouldn't go so far, because that's definitely like way worse. But it's dehumanizing, to say the very least. Putting people, behind these cattle-like fences, and no one is ever addressing the reasons they're also there, right? It's like, I mean, especially for a nation of immigrants, it's really weird, right? That you have people that are worried about other immigrants. Like, I mean, where did you come from? Are you, unless you're a native, I mean, you don't really have a right to say anything. But you're not indigenous to the place. But nonetheless, I digress. My point is that, we have no clue what's going on in there. And I think the Biden administration knows that. And that's why they're covering for him, right? They're just flat out denying any kind of comparison to what Trump did, right? And there are comparisons to be made. They're sugarcoating the shit. It's literally the same facility. You reopened one of the facilities. Those things have bars on the windows. I mean, why are they doing this? Because they're running cover. Because it's okay when it's bad when Orange Cheetah Man does it, but it's okay when Biden doesn't. Just like when Trump has abuses of power. No, it's not okay. But when Biden doesn't, it's okay. The one thing I will point out, even when Trump bombed Syria, they liked it. Of course they liked it, right? That's one thing where it's, Bipartisanship. Great, right? Having bipartisanship. They never criticized Trump for what he did. Assassinating Soleimani, almost starting a war with Iran 15,000 times, right? I don't even know how the hell Iran has been so patient. I really don't know. I mean, Jesus. And all the crap that Biden is doing now, it's just a continuation of Trump, which was a continuation of Obama and of Bush. And Biden was been in government for 50 years, and he's helped he's facilitated all this crap. It's one giant gang, and they're screwing us over. Ross says, it's not about truth, it's always about power. We choose truth over facts, remember? Yeah, it's true, what you're saying, of course. The facts don't matter. It's about who can, dominate the other. I hate that. I hate that a lot, because I don't think, the law of the jungle is exactly something that we should be striving for as human beings, right? It's not exactly the path towards enlightenment, as well, to put it eloquently. But it is worth noting and pointing out the hypocrisy, because these countries like the UK, the United States, they always claim that they are they govern domestically, and also uphold their diplomacy based on the rule of law, right? They claim that they govern based on the rule of law. That for them, the law is, it's sacrosanct, and so. They're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. They not only break the law in their own countries, they break the law internationally all the time. And you're not going to see anyone hold Biden accountable, right? He went over Congress's head. Although, again, you could come and argue that maybe the AUMF gives him the right to do that, which is still fucking wrong, because, it's like a blank check, a carte blanche for the president, just go to war and kill anyone he likes. If you think that's constitutional, what the fuck? And then even if it were constitutional, that doesn't mean it's okay under international law, but no one's going to say anything. We know that. No progressives, no Democrats, no one is going to say a fucking shit. You know why? Because for them, it's like, I don't like it, but I'm not really going to stick my neck out for it. And that's the same attitude that you're going to see from progressives in progressive media, right? They say, yeah, it's wrong for Biden to do that, but they're not going to actually explain why it's wrong internationally and why it's a myth and how they're lying. No. Unfortunately. Well, I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Give me 1 second, guys. You guys are so generous, and I'm really humbled and grateful for you for supporting this show and independent media. I really am. So I'm just going back over here. So with that said, guys, I'm okay. This is cool. We got we got a little super chat over here on PayPal. I'm going to read it to you. This is from Robert, and there's no note attached as far as I can tell. And nonetheless, I'm very grateful, Robert. I hope I didn't miss. If there was a note, I hope I didn't miss it, because sometimes that happens. Also, I see we got a tip on CashApp from Jean Manuel. It says, "Thank you, my king, and bless up to your land." I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. I'm really grateful. Thank you for the support. I also saw Tara Reid. Tara Reid, she also, because I was posting about Biden bombing Syria, and she extended her support, and so I'm grateful for that, because again, I mean, it's like. Which I'm trying to stay cheerful here, but the shit is depressing, right? Right. It hurts, man. I was just thinking about my grandparents, and I really miss them very much. But I was thinking, like, if they were still alive, if they saw what was going on in Syria right now, they would be bawling their eyes out. They would be crying their eyes out if they knew what had happened to Syria. I think we also got something over here from just a second. Oh yeah, this is from Patreon. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Comrade Lo-Fi, and thank you to Awa. I really appreciate I really appreciate your support on Patreon. And once again, I just like to reiterate, because I think this is good for again, not just me, but for everyone else who's in independent media. You know, again, take your pick, whether it's Lee Camp or Jimmy Dore or whoever. You know, if you go and sign up on Rockfin, you support all of us, so that's pretty good. We get to share the. You know, as Shep Smith says, when they, again, like I'm laughing because it's, you know, you cry otherwise, but he was on Fox News when they were invading Iraq, and he's like, you know, yeah, who knows, maybe we'll get some more American bases and spread the love. And I'm just watching like, what is wrong with you? And this guy's like still a journalist on television, right? Like he was calling the invasion of Iraq spreading the love. Anyway, so going back to my point, if you sign up on Rockfin, you can spread the love as well to all these creators by subscribing. Again, it's $9.99, so $10 basically a month. But it goes, I think. Hold on, let me pull this up for you. I'm trying to explain this as best as I can. So one of you pointed out there are no ads. I think that's a huge win. But if you go over here. All right, and you click subscribe, then basically you'll get everyone's premium. And yeah, I think the person you subscribe to gets a bit, like there's like a minimum percentage of the $10, but it's spread out. It's spreading the love. Someone please explain it better than me. All I'm interested in is that, number one, there's no corporation taking a cut like YouTube or Patreon, and most importantly, there's no censorship, right? So I'm allowed to put Syria in the title of the video, or I'm allowed to talk about Nira Tandon, and I'm allowed to talk about Israel's human rights violations and genocide without being censored. That's a good plus. I think that's kind of like the bare minimum for a journalist for news. So that's what I'm interested in. And then anyway, so there we go. Just plugging the Rockfin. Brian has sent a tip. Thank you very much, Brian. I see you, Adam. It's good that you're still here. Good to have you on. And I'm just gonna play a crab dance to thank Ava. Am I saying it correctly? Ava or Awa? And to thank Comrade Lo-Fi. So thank you guys very much for supporting the show on Patreon. Here's this crab dance just for you.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
There we go. I hate that. I hate this so much. I'm sorry about that. That was an awesome crab dance. Thank you so much to Ava and Comrade Lo-Fi. I appreciate your support. Thank you to everybody who's commented, liked, shared, and you know it all helps with the algorithm. You know the thing. I feel like you guys know this, but I feel like I have to repeat myself anyway because maybe there's someone new who's watching, which is great, and welcome to the show. And you know I just want to explain it because you know the algorithm is not too favorable to us. Again, another thing you don't have to worry about on Rockfin. Rockfin is great. So with that said, thank you all for your support. I really appreciate it. Again, fuck Joe Biden. Fuck his diverse cabinet. There's nothing diverse about it. They can eat my ass. I'm keeping it mild, okay? Because I'm actually too tired to lose my shit again. I'm really exhausted. But there you go. So before I go, just once again, if I can plug the show, and I greatly appreciate it. There's tons of ways to help out if you want: Venmo, CashApp, or PayPal. Those are with the QR codes. And of course, I just talked about Rockfin. And there's also the Patreon if you would like to help. And the GoFundMe, man, we are at 90% of the GoFundMe. Okay, we are at 90%. I think we can hit the goal, man. Come on, we have to. So let's do that. And thank you very much because it allows me to actually keep reporting for you, and also go places sometimes, right? When we're allowed to travel, in any case. So yeah, we're somewhere around 90%. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. That's about it. And oh yeah, of course, last but not least, if you do want your war criminal merch, you know, I was joking about how you know, since Joe Biden just bombed my country, these will not go out of style anytime soon, right? I called it, right? I fucking called it. Just I hate that he proved me right. Like the first country he bombs is Syria, the first one. Like not a lot down the line. No, it's the first one. You know, it's a special gift for Israel. So yeah, if you want one of these, you can get them on a mug. You can get them on a T-shirt. This is a long tee. I like the long tee. Okay, and I couldn't get a hoodie because you guys bought all of them. So I mean, ahlan wa sahlan. But yeah, the URL is store.richardmedhurst.com, and the 20% off is corn pop. You just use corn pop in the checkout. I fixed it, so don't worry. It's one word, CORNPOP. So anyway, I'm done plugging the show. Again, I'm here to talk about politics, so I always feel a bit distracted doing that. But nonetheless, we got to keep independent media going. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. And please share this video because, you know, I think it's really important for people to understand. I mean, there's so much wrong with this administration, but like, you know, we need to wake people up, right? We really need to wake people up. The mainstream media, the mass media, they are working 24/7 around the clock. Their entire business model is to make money. And, you know, they're not going to report the truth. They're not interested in the truth. They're stenographers. They just do occasional good reporting once in a blue moon. And most of the time, particularly with this kind of issue, when it comes to Iran, when it comes to Syria, the axis of evil, as George Bush liked to say, you're not going to hear a real breakdown of it. And even in progressive media, they're either too afraid to touch it, or they'll just like do some superficial analysis of it. And that's not enough. So I'd really appreciate it if people were a bit more educated about that. And, you know, because it's not enough to oppose the bombings and the wars. I mean, of course, it's wrong regardless, but it's also important to understand the reasons behind them, the propaganda behind them, because otherwise, you know, we're always going to keep falling for the same crap, right? And it's not just a thing but with the US, it's also Israel who's using this justification the entire time, right? So anyway, hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for tuning in. It's been great. And if you're watching on replay, make sure you do a roll call. Oh, and we got one last very big donation from Breezy. Thank you very, very, very much, Breezy. There's no note, but I think there is perhaps a sticker. I'm not sure. In any case, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. You guys rock. Ma salame. Bye bye.